If it had just been one of them, Leo wouldn't have minded taking a detour to drop her off. But two? Forget it. Since he couldn't drop them both off, he wouldn't drop either of them off. How are you guys getting back? Sophia smiled. We'll grab a cab. What about you? My dad's sending a car for me. Chloe jumped in. You guys should ride with me. I'll have the driver take you home first. She looked at Leo, her eyes full of expectation. Leo noticed, but he just shook his head. I'm going to run home. It's got to be at least 6 or 7 miles from here to your house. You're going to run? Chloe asked, stunned. Leo nodded. Yep. College life has been too good, and I haven't worked out in a while. I put on a few pounds. My mom won't feel sorry for me if she sees me like this. He smirked. But if I run home, I might not lose any weight, but I'll definitely look like hell. When she sees me looking pathetic, she'll feel bad for me and probably forget that I haven't called her in almost 2 weeks. Sophia rolled her eyes. That was exactly the kind of stunt Leo would pull. And, to be fair, his mother really had said she was going to give him a piece of her mind when he got back. Suppressing a laugh, she said, well, good luck with that. Thanks. Chloe clearly wanted to say more, but Leo didn't give her the chance. You guys take your time. Text me when you get home. Bye. With that, he walked off on his own. He'd already spotted his dad, David, smoking by a planter. But David was nearsighted, his vision wasn't great, and he probably hadn't seen him yet. Leo was worried that if his dad saw them and came over to say hi, Chloe, being Chloe, would absolutely try to bum a ride. And if she got a ride, it wouldn't be right not to include Sophia. And if they were all in the car, who to drop off first would be a whole new problem. Since he couldn't solve the problem, he'd just get rid of the people who presented it. He could make his old man wait a little longer. Leo ducked into a less crowded corner and watched until Chloe and Sophia had disappeared before heading over to his dad. There was another reason he'd intentionally avoided the meeting. His dad was too smart. He might act like a henpecked husband at home, but he was incredibly sharp. In college, he not only studied law, but had also minored in psychology. Sophia and Chloe were far too transparent to face him. If they met, he'd be able to guess the whole situation from a few expressions and a couple of lines of dialogue. And once he knew, Helen would know. There were some things David would help Leo hide from his mother, but when it came to matters of principle, he wouldn't budge an inch. If it came to that, Leo figured his only option would be to run away from home. For the sake of a happy home, he'd just have to shoulder this burden alone. Dad, I missed you so much. Leo shouted, appearing suddenly at David's side. His dad jumped, startled, dropping his cigarette on the ground. He stamped it out with a pained expression, then picked up the butt and tossed it in a nearby trash can. Let's go. Time to head home. You bet. Leo chirped, pulling open the car door. He'd ridden in Autos and driven Land Rovers, but he still found his dad's old Ford Taurus the most comfortable car in the world. So, are you getting used to it over there? David asked, making casual conversation as they drove. Leo nodded. Totally used to it. You guys don't have to worry. I'm not worried. It's your mother who's worried. She's afraid that the next time you come back, she'll have been promoted to a grandmother. Leo shook his head vehemently at that. I'm not in a rush until you guys are. And when you guys get to be in a rush, well, you could just be in a rush. I'm still not rushing. The sentence was a little convoluted, but David understood. He was indifferent. Just don't say that to your mother, or else. Or else what? Leo asked, curious. Or else I'm worried that new broom she bought won't be enough for the job. Leo's brow twitched. He had a bad feeling about this. Dad, I actually have plans tonight. You could just drop me off on the side of the road. David didn't say a word, just sped up a little. Dad, pull over at that bus stop, Leo said, pointing as they drove out of the train station parking lot. But his dad acted as if he hadn't heard. Leo had no choice but to try a different tactic. I know those people. It's tough to get a ride right now. We should give them a lift. Only then did David pull the car over. Missed the last bus, Leo called out, rolling down his window to Liam, Wendy, and their friend. Oh, yeah, hop in. During their chat on the train, Liam had mentioned roughly where he lived. It wasn't far from Leo's house, maybe a 10-minute drive. The buses had stopped running for the night, and it was hard to get a cab at this hour. Leo had a good impression of Liam, so he was happy to help. Oh no, you don't have to, Liam said. On the train, they were all just students, bold and chatty. But in front of an adult, they suddenly became reserved. Hurry up, Leo insisted. You're holding up traffic. Thank you so much, Liam said, opening the car door. Wendy got in first, then the other girl with Liam last. Hello, sir, the three of them said in unison once they realized David was Leo's father. David gave a polite reply and asked where they lived. Always been kind to Leo's friends and didn't mind giving them a ride. With more people in the car, the conversation died down. Leo didn't mind. He pulled out his phone and played Snake, then sent a quick text to Kevin Liu, telling him he needed a wingman later, Otherwise, he'd never get out of the house again. The story about his mom and the broom had him a little spooked. The three of them all lived close to each other, so they got out of the same stop. As David's car disappeared around the corner, when he finally looked away, Liam reminded her gently, "Wendy, we're starting our internship soon. The people we'll meet out there won't be as pure as the ones in school. You have to fight for what you want." Wendy just smiled. "What about you? Aren't you going to fight for what you want?" She walked off alone, leaving the other two to themselves. Back home, Leo took a deep breath, composed himself, and opened the door. The moment he saw his mother, Ellen, he rushed forward and threw his arms around her. "Mom, I missed you so much." He just used the same line on his dad. Couldn't play favorites. Besides, it was the only thing he could think of on the spot. Helen froze. After a moment, she pushed him away, her eyes narrowing. "It's freezing out, and you're only wearing a t-shirt?" Leo had taken his jacket off in the car, all part of his plan to play the sympathy card. "I forgot to pack extra clothes. I was so busy over there, I didn't have time to buy any." He puffed out his chest. "It's fine, I run hot. I'm not even cold." Ahem. David couldn't listen anymore and cleared his throat loudly. "We were going to come visit you in Oregon when that cold snap hit, but something came up. Then Sophia called your mom and said you'd already bought new clothes, so she didn't have to worry." Leo was stunned. He shot a look at his dad. "You couldn't have told me that earlier?" Seeing Leo's expression, David could only shrug helplessly. It wasn't that he hadn't wanted to say anything. It was that he hadn't expected his son to be this shameless. This was like intentionally walking right into the line of fire. Helen crossed her arms, glanced at him, and said, "Anything else you want to say? Go on." Leo plopped down on the sofa in defeat. "Nothing to say." Helen sighed. Before Leo had gotten back, she talked a big game about how she was going to discipline him. But now that she saw him, all her anger had evaporated. "Have you eaten?" Leo shook his head. Just as Helen was about to get up and cook, he stopped her. "I have to go out in a bit." "I'll eat then." He quickly added, "It's with my high school class president. You know, the one from a newspaper who took a gap year after getting into college to work on that poverty alleviation project." Kevin Liu's story had not only been in the papers, but had also been featured on the local TV station. Helen and David both knew about it, especially since Rush Sportswear was an investor. "Really?" Helen asked skeptically. Leo was so slippery, it was impossible to know if he was telling the truth. Just then, the doorbell rang. Leo shot up and opened the door. "Hey, you came, that's great, but you didn't have to bring a gift. I feel bad." Despite his words, his movements were incredibly smooth. He reached into the bag, pulled out a pear, wiped it on his shirt, and took a big bite. "Tastes great," he mumbled. "That's for your parents. What's it got to do with you?" Kevin quickly clutched the bag, worried Leo would grab more. At that moment, Helen and David walked over. They didn't immediately recognize the dark-skinned kid standing in their doorway. "Hello, Mr. and Mrs. White," Kevin said with a grin, his white teeth practically glowing. Leo saw his parents' confusion and made the introduction. "Let me introduce you. This is my high school class president, Kevin Liu." Helen had met Kevin before, and he didn't look like this. He was now as dark as a charcoal briquette. She couldn't see any trace of his former self. Kevin was used to this reaction and didn't bother explaining. He simply handed the bag over. "Mrs. White, these fruits are all organic and pesticide-free, and the eggs are from true free-range chickens. It's not much, but please accept it." Even when they were rivals for Sophia's affection, Kevin had always been polite to Leo's parents. He was even more so now. Helen graciously accepted the gift. "Thank you, Kevin. Please come in and sit down." But Kevin shook his head. "I won't disturb you tonight. I just need to discuss something important with Leo. It's about the income of an entire village. That's why I came by so late." Leo secretly gave Kevin a thumbs up. To spend a night out at the club into such a noble cause, he had to learn this art of bullshitting. With a pitch like that, it would seem heartless to refuse. David and Helen both nodded. "All right then," Helen said. "Just remember to be back early. And don't drink." I know," Leo said dismissively, then turned to his dad. "Dad, can I borrow your car keys?" Keys in hand, Leo slung an arm around Kevin's shoulder and they headed out. Once they were downstairs, Leo quickly pulled his arm away, a look of disgust on his face. "How many days has it been since you showered? You stink of sweat." Kevin spat back. "Didn't you tell me to look the part? To look like I've been suffering? Besides, I sweat my ass off every damn day now. What's wrong with smelling a little? If it wasn't for your stupid idea to sell t-shirts back in the day, would I be in this mess?" Leo listened to Kevin's rant without getting angry. When he thought about it, it really was because of that whole t-shirt business that Kevin had ended up like this. Though Leo himself thought it was a good thing, he couldn't say that to Kevin's face right now. He could only change the subject. So who's coming tonight? Kevin used to be just a student. He was capable, but he hadn't seen much of the world. In the past few months, he'd witnessed so much of life's grittiness that he had matured considerably, but he'd also bottled up a lot of frustration. It was probably only in front of Leo that he could vent like this, but it was just venting. When it came to business, he reined his emotions in. It's mainly the head of procurement for OmniMart's regional division. The other guys are just there for show. If we can partner with them, it would really solve our distribution problem. OmniMart, huh? Leo muttered to himself. Right now, there are too few stable sales channels for agricultural products. It wasn't like the future, where you could build e-commerce platforms and leverage live streaming. For now, they had to rely on brick-and-mortar businesses. Getting into a major supermarket was indeed the best option. Who set up the meeting? Cathy. Leo had previously intended for Kat to help, even giving up a spot on that TV show for Kevin to participate and build his profile. He'd heard a few days ago that preparations were almost complete and filming was scheduled during fall break. Leo had given Kat Kevin's number, so he naturally assumed she was behind this. But Kevin shook his head. Kat's working on other channels. She said she'd wait until you got back to finalize things. This meeting was set up by a county official. Leo frowned, thinking for a moment. Did you give him any local specialties? The old Kevin might not have understood what that meant, but the current one did. He shook his head. No, I'd rather donate that money to a school. Leo sighed. Even a scorching sun could only darken his skin. His heart was still so naive and pure. No, not pure, idealistic. He wasn't sure if that was a good thing or a bad thing. It's because I wasn't sure that I dragged it out until you got back, Kevin added. Leo understood. He continued. Do they know about the TV show crew coming to film, with celebrity guests promoting your products? Kevin shook his head. Kat is coordinating that directly with the city's publicity department. The county and town officials haven't been notified yet. So no, they don't know. And I haven't told them. As they talked, Leo had already driven to the waterfront. He parked the car, and they headed toward the brilliantly lit Pinnacle Club. A little past 9 in the evening was the end of the day for many, but for some, it was just the beginning. Under the neon lights, the 5 words, the Pinnacle Club, shone with a particular brilliance. Standing at the entrance, you could already feel the pulsing waves of music from within. This was Leo's first time inside. He couldn't help but take a closer look around. He had to admit, the women in their low-cut, long evening gowns were certainly easy on the eyes. Compared to Leo's unabashed gawking, Kevin was much more reserved. It wasn't his first time here, but he still wasn't comfortable with the atmosphere. He muttered under his breath, I really don't get why people like to talk business in places like this. Leo just shrugged, completely unbothered. It's probably just human psychology. The sense of camaraderie you get from doing 10 good deeds together can't compare to doing one bad one. Kevin fell silent and just kept walking toward the private room. He might not like it, but he was trying his best to adapt. Director Han, sorry to keep you waiting. Leo followed Kevin into the room and saw 3 middle-aged men, each chatting with a female companion. The one in the lead, who had a bald spot, had one hand on a woman's shoulder and was gently stroking the back of her other hand. Only when Kevin and Leo entered did he pull his hands back. He stood up with a smile. Mr. Lou, you're finally here. Sit. After ushering them to a seat, he had one of the hostesses pour them drinks. Once the glasses were full, he added, Red, go get 2 more of your sisters to join us. Leo took a second look at this Director Han. The man knew how to play the host, but that fleeting sense of appreciation didn't last long. He heard Kevin whisper beside him that he was the one who had booked the room, which meant he was the one who would be paying the bill. This was why he'd specifically asked Leo to come along. Kevin was direct. He was broke. Leo glanced at the big XO on the several bottles of cognac on the table and suddenly felt like the world's biggest sucker. My stomach hurts. Can I leave now? Kevin shot him a glare. What do you think? Leo wasn't one to take a loss lying down. Since he couldn't leave, he decided to see what kind of game this Director Han was playing that could make him willingly foot the bill. Mr. Lou, what kind of songs do you like? I'll cue one up for you. Someone had been singing, and the room was loud. Director Han hadn't heard their whispering. Once the song finished, he turned to Kevin. Because Kevin hadn't introduced Leo, they naturally assumed he was just an assistant and paid him little attention. Kevin shook his head. Director Han, you guys sing. Look, Before he could finish, Leo pulled him back. Director Han, my buddy here is a hell of a singer. He's just a little shy. I'll pick a song for him. Leo got up and walked over to the karaoke machine. Since he couldn't sing either, he figured he could just shout along. He randomly picked 2 rock anthems. Returning to his seat, he ignored Kevin's confused stare, picked up his glass, and walked over to Director Han. Director Han, I've heard so much about you. Leo was a natural at this kind of official flattery. A few lines in, and Director Han was all smiles. Of course, plenty of alcohol was consumed. By the time he needed to use the restroom, he was staggering and needed Red to support him. After he left, Kevin pulled Leo aside. We're here to talk business. When are we going to bring it up? If we keep drinking like this, we'll all be wasted. How are we supposed to negotiate then? Leo gestured for him to relax. These guys are a bunch of old foxes, sharp as tacks. If he were really serious about a deal, do you think he'd let himself get this drunk? To put it another way, if he's not serious, he'll be drunk, even if he hasn't had a drop. Kevin nodded. He was still too green. He was fine with the work, but this culture of drinking and deal-making was something he still needed to practice. Leo left it at that and returned to his seat. There was a new girl next to him. You're Crystal, right? He asked. That's a beautiful name. The girl covered her mouth and giggled. Boss, I'm Tiffany. She's Crystal. Tiffany pointed to the woman sitting next to Kevin. Leo felt a little awkward. My bad. I guess I've had a bit too much to drink. I'm getting confused. You're just joking, boss. You can really hold your liquor. Let me pour you another one. She started pouring before he could answer. The more bottles they opened, the higher their commission. Sometimes, to persuade a customer to drink, they drink a lot themselves. It was a game of who could outlast whom. Of course, you could also just negotiate a price. She had subtly brought it up earlier when they were drinking, but Leo had smoothly dodged it every time. Since that didn't work, she was trying to make more money on the drinks. Leo didn't stop her. Pouring the drink was her business. Whether he drank, it was his. He remembered Tiffany and Crystal from before, when they were still selling clothes on the street, back when they had an air of simple honesty about them. It had only been a few months, but they had already blended seamlessly into this world of nightlife. Environment really could change a person. He didn't look down on them. There was no shame in earning a living with your own skills. At least they always asked before opening a new bottle. Director Han wasn't gone for long. After Red helped him back to the sofa, she left, gesturing for Tiffany, Crystal, and the other women to follow her out. They knew the routine. It was time to talk business, so they discreetly excused themselves. Leo shot Kevin a look, signaling him to take the lead. Tonight, he just wanted to be the guy who drank and paid the bill. Director Han, I've arranged for a full VIP package at the spa for you. After you've had your fun here, we can head straight over, Kevin said, using the lines Leo had fed him to butter up the director. Clearly, Director Han was receptive to this approach. Well then, thank you, Mr. Liu. He sat up straighter. With you being so generous, I can't be stingy either. But we still need to discuss the specifics of our partnership. There are two models. First, we buy the product outright. How much we sell is our business, but of course, the purchase price will be lower. The other option is consignment. You provide the product, we sell it, and we take a 2% commission on sales. How much sells is on you? Kevin looked over at Leo, seeking his opinion. Leo spoke up. There are conditions, right? Director Han smiled. For the first model, we only sign a short-term contract. The initial order won't be large. It depends on sales. The second model is also short-term. If sales are good, we can continue the partnership. Leo poured Director Han a glass of wine, raised his own to toast him, and then asked, Director Han, I'm sure you're looking to partner with us for reasons beyond just the county official's recommendation, right? It all felt too easy, so easy that Leo found it suspicious. Director Han drained his glass and shook his head. You'd have to ask the official about that. What's the official's last name? Oh, and where does he work? As if he'd suddenly become dead drunk, Director Han collapsed onto the sofa and fell silent. Leo knew he wasn't going to get anything more out of him. He walked out of the Pinnacle Club, sat on the steps, and lit a cigarette. He pulled out his phone and called Sophia. It rang once before she picked up. What's up? Let me ask you something. You told me before that Hollywood grew up in an orphanage, right? Yeah. Why are you suddenly asking about that? No reason, just popped into my head. Leo quickly added, don't overthink it. I'm not interested in her. Not in the slightest. Sophia laughed. Of course she knew that, but she still asked playfully, then are you interested in Chloe Jiang? Leo was speechless. He looked up and saw a full moon hanging in the sky. The moon looks nice tonight. Want to come out and see it? Come pick me up. After hanging up with Sophia, Leo went back into the private room. Director Han was sitting in a dimly lit corner with Red. He was awake now, though it was hard to see what he was doing. In any case, he hadn't sung a single song all night. Leo cleared his throat loudly before approaching. Director Han smiled, pulling his hand back without a trace of embarrassment. Director Han, Leo began, your boss. He has family issues, doesn't he? Han didn't know what Leo was getting at, but he nodded. Yes. What about it? Nothing. Director Han, please pass a message on to your boss for me. Tell him we're passing on this partnership, and that running away from certain things will only make one's heart grow more and more uneasy. With that, Leo called out to Kevin. Let's go. Haven't you had your fill of groping? Kevin froze. His face, already dark, turned a shade of crimson. Whether from the alcohol or embarrassment, it was hard to tell. Why aren't we doing the deal? Kevin asked as they walked out. You wouldn't get it even if I told you, so I might as well not. Whatever, Kevin scoffed, deciding to ignore him. Although he was a little disappointed, he didn't complain too much. Just then his phone rang. He glanced at the unfamiliar number, answered politely, and said, hello. After listening for a moment, he nudged Leo. Here, it's for you. Leo took the phone, his brow furrowed in confusion. Who is this? Hello, my name is Ho. Leo gradually slowed his pace. As he listened to the voice on the other end, his frown deepened. Okay, thank you for the warning. I'll be careful. And don't worry, I won't tell her. By the time he hung up, they had reached the street and hailed a cab. Leo handed the phone back to Kevin and got in first. Let's go, driver. Isn't he coming with you? We're going different ways. But he's still trying to open the door. Just drive. The driver pulled away, leaving a stunned Kevin standing on the curb. A moment later, Leo's phone started buzzing. He didn't want to answer. He was already annoyed enough. After the cab dropped him off downstairs from Sophia's apartment, Leo gave her a call. A few minutes later, she came down. She must have just showered. As she got closer, he could smell the fresh scent of her body wash. Sophia smelled the alcohol on him, but didn't ask any questions. Where to? Let's walk by the river. They walked side by side, Leo's mind consumed by what Mr. Ho had said on the phone. Sophia could tell something was on his mind. What's wrong? She asked. Leo was about to shake his head, but she took his hand. Tell me, 2 heads are better than 1, right? Leo figured she was right. Besides, after drinking, it fell hard to keep things bottled up. You remember that time you helped out Holly one, right? Sophia nodded, gesturing for him to continue. Her father is an official, a high-level one in the state government. But Holly's birth was complicated, so they can't publicly acknowledge each other. Because Rush helped the orphanage's clothing factory, he wanted to return the favor. Someone is trying to sabotage the products from the demonstration farm to ruin Rush's reputation and destroy our market share. He heard about it and had a major supermarket contact us first to help us avoid the trouble. But I was too arrogant and turned him down. They had unknowingly reached the riverbank. The moon was bright overhead. Sophia looked at the silent Leo and wrapped her arms around his waist from behind. So, you've thought of a solution, right? Leo nodded. Avoiding it is simple, but want to find out who's behind this. The official is a busy man. He's not going to get involved in the details. The fact that he gave me a heads up is more than enough for me to be grateful. Rush grew too fast. We stepped on some people's toes. Sophia rested her head on his back, her voice soft. It's okay. Even if the company goes bankrupt, it's okay. I'll support you. Hearing this, Leo turned around, placing his hands on her waist and looking down into her eyes. Say that again? I'm going to record it. Sophia gave him a sly smile. When you go bankrupt, I'll support you. You just have to cook for me. Deal. Sophia leaned against his chest. Then it settled. Don't put too much pressure on yourself. Was Leo feeling pressure? Maybe, but it wasn't about this. He was about to speak when Sophia's nose twitched and she frowned. Are you wearing perfume? Leo lifted his collar and sniffed. It seemed he did smell a bit like Tiffany. He'd had too much to drink and must have gotten a little too close. I was just with Kevin meeting a procurement director from a supermarket. It must have been from one of them. Sophia squinted at him, her meaning clear. You think I'm an idiot? But she didn't press the issue. They had seen the moon. They had hugged. She was ready to go home. Okay, take me back. Let's go. Leo had been full of frustration, but after seeing Sophia, all his bad moods had vanished. She really did have a healing effect, at least on him. Back outside her apartment building, just as Sophia was about to wave goodbye, Leo suddenly asked, You said your dad was on a business trip and won't be back for a few days, right? So, does that mean no one's home right now? Sophia lowered her hand, looking at him warily. And so, aren't you scared sleeping alone at night? Want me to come up and keep you company? Don't worry, I'll sleep on the couch. Sophia smiled, blinking slowly, just looking at him without saying a word. Leo started to feel a little flustered under her gaze. He was about to say something else, but his mouth was suddenly covered. Sophia gave him a quick, light peck on the lips. When you figure things out, she whispered. Leo knew exactly what she meant by figure things out, but he had to play dumb. Figure what out? If you don't want me to, then I won't. Besides, I'm a picky sleeper. I wouldn't be comfortable anyway. Muttering to himself, he got into a taxi and rolled down the window to wave at her. Faintly, he thought he heard her whisper something. Jerk. He really left. It was almost midnight by the time Leo got home, but David and Helen were still up. Leo froze in the doorway. Don't you wage earners have to work tomorrow? Their jobs were unusual. Their schedules were the opposite of most people's. When others were off, they were at their busiest. David caught the scent of alcohol on Leo and asked, "Did you drive back?" Leo shook his head and handed over the car keys. "It's in the parking garage at the waterfront. You can pick it up tomorrow." David didn't take them. Whoever drove it there can drive it back. With that, he ignored Leo, yawned, and went back to his room. Helen did the same. They had only stayed up this late to wait for him. At the end of the day, they were still worried about him being out on his own. Leo was happy to keep the keys for now. He'd need them tomorrow anyway. As for his dad, he could take a cab. After a shower in his room, Leo was mostly sober. He lay in bed, tossing and turning, but sleep wouldn't come. Finally, he got up and sat down at his computer. According to the official on the phone, someone wanted to use the Charity Farms products to create a negative PR storm, inciting the local villagers to blame everything on Rush Sportswear. The official had only hinted at it, leaving Leo to figure out the rest. Leo knew just how terrifying a PR crisis could be. It could easily crush a company, especially one like Rush with such shallow roots. He searched Rush Sportswear on Google. Besides franchise ads and routine news reports, there were also a lot of negative articles. Some claimed poor quality, others accused them of monopolistic practices. There was a little bit of everything. He was already sleepless, and seeing all this only made it worse. He had dark circles under his eyes when he went out the next morning. "What did you do last night?" Kevin was about to chew Leo out for ditching him, but when he saw his exhausted state, he held back. Leo shook his head. "Come with me to Rush headquarters first. Then we'll go check out the demonstration farm together." Hearing this, Kevin looked at him suspiciously. "What are you planning?" Leo hadn't noticed anything strange at first, but seeing Kevin's expression, he felt something was up. He gave a sly grin. "Oh, what's this? You're not hiding some secret girlfriend out there, are you?" Kevin shook his head frantically. "None of your business." "Then what are you so afraid of?" "I'm not afraid. Let's go." Leo saw through his bluster and patted his shoulder reassuringly. "Don't worry. I promise I won't look too hard." Kevin grit his teeth, wanting to say something, but ultimately holding his tongue. To be honest, Leo was also very curious what kind of person could convince Kevin to put his education on hold and willingly stay behind. Kevin fell silent, knowing he couldn't avoid it. During fall break, Rush was officially closed. But because Leo was back, Mr. Stewart and a few other key managers had come into the office early. After several months of rapid development, Rush headquarters was no longer the small workshop it once was. It was starting to feel like a real corporation. Leo's office was always kept clean. He ran a hand over his desk, not a speck of dust. "No need to report the sales figures. I saw them in my email. I just came by today to talk about two things." Leo sat in his executive chair, exuding a natural authority that had nothing to do with his age. No one there underestimated him because he was young. The founder of the Rush myth, that halo was far too bright. Mr. Stewart had brought a secretary who was taking minutes. Hearing this, he straightened up. "First, I'm planning to establish a PR and crisis management department. We'll select people from a marketing department. It will be responsible for monitoring and handling online public opinion. There is no room for error here. If we receive a complaint or a crisis arises, and it's our fault, we will back down unconditionally. Second, I'll be setting up an investment firm soon. We'll have open positions, so I need each department to recommend suitable candidates." After a few more perfunctory remarks, Leo dismissed everyone else, leaving only Mr. Stewart behind. His real reason for coming to the office today was just to see him. It was Stewart who felt the boss should see his employees and had organized the small meeting. Once everyone had left, the large office was empty except for Leo and Mr. Stewart. "Here's some information I've gathered. Take a look." Stewart handed over a manila envelope. It was around this time that Mr. Jiang began mortgaging a large portion of the Jiang Corporation's assets to liquidate them. He invested all the cash into real estate in the Sun Belt. It has the feeling of a scorched earth strategy. Leo listened as he opened the envelope. His brow furrowed as he read the contents. "You haven't told anyone else about this, have you?" Stewart shook his head. "Not even Ms. He knows." "Good. You should act like you don't know either." Leo fed the file into the paper shredder. Afterwards, he sat back in his chair, pinching his chin in thought. Ethan John's life wasn't easy either. The John Corporation felt like it was becoming too big to manage, and his family life wasn't exactly harmonious. With that thought, Leo waved a hand, dismissing Stewart. Once he was gone, Leo took out his phone and called Ethan Jiang. He had previously asked Chloe to set up a meeting, intending to visit as a junior and test the waters. But after seeing that file, he felt it was better to keep Chloe out of it. Ethan didn't want her to have burdens beyond her years, and neither did Leo. The girl had enough to worry about with matters of the heart. Leo. Ethan's voice came through as soon as the call connected. He received a lot of calls, most of which were handled by his assistant. Only a few people had the number to the phone he carried with him. Mr. Jiang, are you in Riverbend? I'm here for a couple of days, leaving the day after tomorrow. What's up? When are you free? I'd like to pay you a visit. Tomorrow night. Great. I'll see you then. No need to tell Chloe. After hanging up, Leo opened his phone's contacts and typed Jiang. At the top was Chloe Jiang, and below there was Julian Jiang. To be honest, Leo had a pretty good impression of Julian. In some ways, they were two peas in a pod. Although this matter didn't directly involve him, it ultimately concerned his family. After this, their relationship would probably be ruined. And then there was Chloe's uncle. Leo had originally thought his only connection was the clothing factory, but it turned out his shadow was cast here as well. All his closest relatives. To ruin Chloe's reputation and force her out of the Jiang Corporation, they were really willing to go that far. Leo thought back. In his past life, after that incident, Chloe had gone abroad. It was probably because of her damaged reputation that she never took over the Jiang Corporation. She became a powerless princess, watching helplessly as the behemoth collapsed. In his past life, he had lost a lot. It seemed she had too. Ethan was probably handling it his own way, but he wouldn't go so far as to completely tear the family apart. Leo had no such reservations. They started this. They didn't get to complain when he finished it. Mr. Stewart. Leo called toward the door. After giving his instructions, Leo took Kevin to the parking garage at the waterfront. He hadn't driven yesterday after drinking, so he was picking up the car now. Kevin tried to get in the passenger seat, but the door wouldn't open. As he knocked on the window, Leo rolled it down. Sit in the back. The front's taken. Kevin made a noise of disgust, but obediently got in the back. Sophia was home alone, and Leo, worried she'd be bored, had called her before they left to ask if she wanted to go for a ride. She had agreed without hesitation. When Leo pulled up outside her apartment complex, she was already standing there, looking lovely. Leo, what the hell is going on with you two? Kevin exclaimed in surprise when he saw Sophia. He remembered that Chloe had wasted a huge chunk of her SAT score just to go to the same college as Leo. So what was the deal with Sophia? Kevin had been so busy with the demonstration farm, and their occasional contact consisted mostly of him venting. He had no time to keep up with Leo's love life. That's why he was so shocked. Leo had no intention of explaining. This is adult business. You should stay out of it. Kevin wanted to retort, but Leo had already pulled the car up to Sophia. Hop in. After getting in, Sophia greeted Kevin. Hey, class president. Long time no see. Long time no see. Unsure of the situation, Kevin just returned the greeting and then fell silent, staring out the window. Sophia fastened her seatbelt and asked, "Where are we going?" Leo replied casually, "To see the hidden beauty." What? She's in Riverbend? Sophia was confused. Just then, Leo added, "Not that kind of beauty. The kind you hide in a cottage." After Leo finished, Kevin coughed loudly, signaling him to cut it out. Seeing Leo just shrug, Sophia understood what was happening and burst out laughing. The drive from Riverbend to the demonstration farm took a full 3 hours. It wasn't the distance, but the lack of a highway. After leaving the county road, there was a long stretch of mountain road to navigate. The car bounced and jolted, and every so often Leo could hear the chassis scraping against the ground. He was starting to worry about his dad's old Taurus. If it broke down here, in the middle of nowhere, they'd be in big trouble. Weren't they supposed to fix this road? Leo remembered that when they first invested here, the local officials had promised to repair the roads. But all this time had passed, and it was still the same. No wonder they couldn't sell their goods. Kevin was equally helpless. I've pushed a few times. They always say the county budget is tight. Leo fell silent. The county was poor to begin with, and they had to juggle the development of various towns. There was only so much they could do. This situation would probably change in 7 or 8 years, when proper roads would finally connect every household. As the road smoothed out, houses began to appear along the roadside, clustered together. Most were tile-roofed houses, with the occasional newly built 2-story home. You okay? Leo parked the car and reached out to smooth Sophia's hair. She didn't look well. The bumpy ride had probably made her carsick. Sophia forced herself to shake her head. I'll be fine in a minute. Kevin watched them, his brow twitching, and tactfully got out of the car. Once Leo and Sophia were out, he pointed to a large, freshly harvested rice paddy. See? It looks ugly now, but a little while ago it was magnificent. And those few mountains over there are all fruit orchards. There's something different growing all year round. And one mountain is a tea plantation, but we have to wait until next year to harvest the tea. We had all these resources before, we just couldn't sell them. Leo nodded and said with genuine admiration, "This is amazing." Kevin just smiled and pointed to a ditch and a small pond at the edge of the field. "We raise fish in there, mostly carp and grass carp. But the dry season is coming." Kevin trailed off. He was great at getting things done, but asking him to find sales channels was really pushing his limits. At the end of the day, he was still just a kid who had just graduated high school. He hadn't yet mastered the nuances of human relationships. As if remembering something, Kevin turned to Leo. "Fish for lunch." Sophia was about to agree when she saw Leo waving his hands frantically. "If I remember correctly, these fish are raised in a natural way, right? And not far from here, there are also chickens and ducks." Kevin grinned sheepishly. Leo knew he was up to no good. He turned to Sophia and explained, "The grass they use to feed the fish is mixed with chicken and duck manure. If I didn't know, I'd eat it and be fine. But I do know." Sophia burst out laughing. "Class president, next time don't ask. Just serve it to him." Kevin nodded. "Noted." As they were chatting, a little girl about 4 or 5 years old ran over with a beaming smile. "Brother Kevin, you're back." Kevin scooped her up into his arms. "That's right. Has Annie been a good girl while I was gone?" "Yes," Annie said, rubbing her face against Kevin's. Leo noticed she had a runny nose. The old Kevin had been a bit of a clean freak, but now he didn't seem to care at all, just laughing happily. He even pulled a piece of candy from his pocket. "Here you go, Annie." Annie took the candy, jumped down from Kevin's arms, and ran toward a nearby tile-roofed house. A few moments later, a young woman about their age came out, holding Annie's hand. Leo took a closer look. She had delicate features, a tall, slender figure, and a kind of clean, fresh-faced beauty. At first glance, she was easy to like. Her only flaw was that her skin was a bit sallow, likely from long hours of labor and poor nutrition. She was too thin, giving off a fragile, willowy impression. Sophia glanced at the woman, then at the look in Kevin's eyes. She nudged Leo. "So that's the hidden beauty?" Leo shook his head. "She's much better than that. At least that innocence isn't an act." Kevin heard him and shot Leo a wary look. "Don't say anything stupid, and don't you dare hit on her." Leo didn't explain. He simply took Sophia's hand and swung it in front of Kevin's face. Sophia didn't pull away, just gave Leo an eye roll. This was his brand of mischief. Seeing this, Kevin relaxed. It was clear he was genuinely afraid of Leo. "Aren't you going to introduce us?" Leo asked, nudging Kevin when the woman got closer, and Kevin still hadn't said anything. Kevin shot him a glare. He ignored Leo and walked forward to greet her. "Don't give any candy next time. She's starting to get cavities." Kevin nodded, though it was unclear if he was really listening. The young woman didn't press the issue. She just asked softly, "Did things go well?" Kevin pointed at Leo. "Not really, but I managed to drag him over, so the problem should be manageable now." "And this is—" Kevin stepped in front of her, blocking her view. "Some idiot. You don't need to know his name." Leo wasn't having it. He pushed Kevin aside and introduced himself. "My name is Leo White. I'm his big brother." "Oh, hello, big brother Leo. I'm Clara Jo. Kevin has mentioned you before. He said you're a very capable person." "He really said that?" Leo asked, surprised. Kevin, looking embarrassed, quickly cut in. "All right, that's enough. Let's go. We haven't eaten yet. I'll make you guys some noodles. It's simple, but it's all we have for now." He led Clara and Annie away. Leo followed them to a small, cinder-block house. It wasn't large, and inside there was a faint smell of mildew from the dampness. But Leo didn't mind. He casually pulled up a long bench and sat down, leaving half of it for Sophia. Clara went to help Kevin with the noodles. Annie peeked her head around the doorway, looking at Leo and Sophia with curiosity. But she was too shy to come closer. "Annie, come here. I'll give you some candy," Leo called out to her. The little girl got scared and ran off. Sophia covered her mouth and laughed. "Looks like you're not so popular after all." Leo pouted. "Isn't that a good thing?" Sophia thought for a moment. "I guess you're right." They didn't have to wait long. Kevin came out with 2 bowls of noodles. "Eat up. I'll take you on a tour of the farm later." Leo didn't stand on ceremony. He picked up his bowl and started eating. Between slurps, he asked, "I remember when we were setting up the production base. Didn't we plan for an accompanying office building? Where is it?" Leo had looked around earlier and hadn't seen any new construction. Kevin paused. He sighed. "I'll explain later." Leo didn't press him. He could guess there was some difficult reason. It made sense. Trying to get things done in an unfamiliar rural town was tough, especially back in these times. As he ate, Leo asked another question. "Did you get the trademark registered like I asked?" Kevin nodded and pulled a piece of paper from his pocket. "I asked you about it, but you said you were too busy to deal with it, so I just came up with something." Leo took the paper. "Country Harvest?" "Yeah, it's descriptive, right?" Leo fell silent. He put down his bowl and ripped the paper to shreds. It was just a piece of scratch paper, so tearing it up was no big deal. But Kevin was furious. He had spent a long time thinking of that name, and had even consulted Mr. Schultz, and Leo just dismissed it so contemptuously. Just as he was about to demand an explanation, Leo spoke first. If we didn't have any other promotional channels, I wouldn't object to that name. But we do. In a little while, that TV crew is coming, and you'll be on camera. This is a one-time opportunity. In that context, your name is a bit corny. But the main problem is that it's not memorable. Kevin looked like he understood, but at the same time, he was completely lost. He looked at Leo, waiting for him to continue. For once, Leo was patient. He asked Kevin, "What was your first impression of Clara?" Kevin's eyes lit up with vigilance. Even though he was still reeling from Leo's critique, the mention of Clara sharpened his focus. Leo glared at him, and Kevin could only scratch his head and give an embarrassed laugh. "She's beautiful, hard-working kind. Anyway, you wouldn't get it." Leo rolled his eyes and muttered, "It's just a case of two people hitting it off. You make it sound so profound." Kevin didn't argue, just grinned sheepishly. Leo continued, "She has a great image, makes a strong first impression. Let's name the brand Clara, and make her the spokesperson. I'll talk to the TV crew and arrange for them to get some good shots of her. As long as the audience remembers her, they'll remember the brand. You don't have to tell her. Her shots have to be candid. If it's too staged, the audience will hate it." The moment he saw Clara, Leo had thought of the rural living influencers who would become famous online years later. He didn't mind creating one ahead of time. He knew it wasn't a perfect fit for the era. Most people still lived in the countryside and didn't have the same nostalgic yearning for a slow, peaceful life that future generations would. But Leo didn't care. He liked the idea. As long as he was willing to invest in marketing, there was no reason it wouldn't be a hit. Thinking of this, he looked at Sophia. "Can Livewire upload videos yet?" Sophia had just taken a sip of noodle broth. She shook her head. "The tech is tricky. The video quality from non-professional cameras is already low, and it gets even blurrier after uploading. And we don't have the compression technology to handle files from professional cameras." Leo couldn't solve a technical problem. There weren't even any professional video websites on the internet yet. Those wouldn't start appearing until 2005. If the professionals hadn't cracked it, there was no way Livewire could. Leo suddenly thought of a certain video platform that wouldn't be founded for another 3 years. Its founder was probably having a rough time right now. The main reason Leo remembered him was because of his classic defense: technology is not a crime. And of course, his product was a classic too. As long as he was around, no other video player in the country would have a chance. "Do you have an idea?" Sophia asked, noticing Leo was lost in thought. "The number of internet users is growing," Leo said. "I was thinking we could give Clara a different kind of debut online. Then we could leverage her celebrity effect to promote the products. Kind of like what you did with the clothes." "Yes." After Leo nodded, Sophia added, "Then you should ask Spike and his sistering. Aren't they doing great? I heard their online family is almost at 5 figures, and the number is still growing." Leo slapped his forehead. He had almost forgotten about them. They were among the very first internet celebrities. Maybe he could have them try selling products through their AIM group chats? Become the first wave of social media marketers? The idea of a bunch of scene kids in heavy eyeliner selling organic farm products just seemed too weird. Leo thought about it and decided against it. The target audiences were completely different. Maybe if he started a hair gel company later, he could give them a call. As Leo was still thinking, he heard a voice shout from the doorway. "Kevin's back? Is the problem solved? Are we going to get our money?" Hearing that voice, Kevin's expression changed slightly, but he tried not to show it in front of Leo. He went outside alone. "Trey, we need a little more time. But don't worry, I'll make sure everyone gets paid." Trey's tone shifted immediately. "You say that every time. It's been days. Where's the money? Don't tell me you've made zero progress." "Kevin, we trusted you. That's why we worked with you for so long. In these few months, we could have made thousands working somewhere else." After Trey finished, others in the small group started chiming in. "Yeah, Kevin, we're all waiting. You promised us we'd get paid. So, where's the money? When buyers came, you wouldn't let us sell. What's the deal with that? Or maybe you never cared about us at all. You just wanted to stay here and hit on Clara." Some were accusing, while others tried to appeal to his emotions. "Kevin, my dad's in the hospital. I need the money urgently. Can't you just be a good guy and lend me some? Isn't the big boss loaded? You still have the money for the building repairs, right? Why not give that to us first?" Yeah. Kevin felt a headache coming on. "Uncle, we can't touch that money. Just trust me. It will be resolved soon. You said that last time, and we believed you. How much longer are you going to drag this out? We worked so hard. We just want to earn a little money. Our lives are already hard enough. How can you have the heart to lie to us?" Leo listened for a while and finally understood. The problem stemmed from the partnership model they had set up. It was a profit-sharing system, not a full buyout. This was Kevin's idea, wanting the villagers to earn more. Leo hadn't bothered with it, treating it as a side project, but now it had backfired. According to the agreement, the villagers were paid for leasing their land, but they were also responsible for the farming and would receive a share of the profits. Now the harvest was good, but they hadn't seen any money, and they were starting to cause trouble. You have to give us a straight answer today. When are we getting the money? And what happens if we don't? If you don't give us an answer, we'll take care of that tea plantation and those fish and the fruit on the trees ourselves. That's right. We'll sell it ourselves. Kevin tried to explain patiently, but the villagers weren't listening. Clara also went outside and started speaking up for Kevin. That only made the villagers' words uglier. Clara, is your last name Joe or Lou? You're not even married yet, and you're already taking a side. What did he give you to make you turn against your own people? The middle-aged woman's tongue was sharp. There was no way Clara and Kevin could stand up to her. Leo sighed. Kevin was still too naive. Hopefully, he would grow after this. Thinking this, he opened his phone's voice recorder and walked outside. There were only 6 or 7 people in the yard, but their overlapping voices made it sound incredibly chaotic. They paused when they saw Leo, but then ignored him. Leo ignored them too, turning to Kevin. Is it worth it? Kevin looked at Leo, his expression pained, and tried to explain. There are hundreds of villagers. Leo held up a hand to stop him. No matter where you went, when you had a lot of people, there were always a few difficult ones. You all want to get paid, is that right? Leo's voice cut through the noise, and they all fell silent. Yeah, said Trey, a man in his 20s who looked like a slacker, a cigarette dangling from his lips. Leo didn't waste words. How much? Trey shot back. If we work somewhere else, we'd make $1,800 a month, and it's easier than farming. For farming, we should get at least $2,000 a month. For months, that's $8,000. After Trey spoke, not only was Kevin shocked, but even the aunts and uncles who had come with him stared at him in disbelief. $8,000. He really had the nerve to say it. How could it possibly be $8,000? Kevin tried to argue. Why not? You just don't want to pay, do you? If you don't want to pay, then get the hell out. Our village doesn't welcome you. Leo couldn't help but laugh. Fine, we'll leave. But before we go, we're taking back Rush's initial investment here. The fruit trees, the tea plantation, and, in your dreams, it was planted in our village, so it's ours. The argument had grown so loud that it attracted a crowd of onlookers. Soon, the yard was packed. They didn't say anything about money. In fact, they were trying to mediate. Kevin came here from the city to help us. What's wrong with waiting a little longer? Forget about whether we get a share of the profits. Just the land lease fees he already paid are more than we'd make in a year from farming, right? Leo noticed that when an old man approached, the crowd naturally parted for him. Elder, what are you doing here? Kevin rushed to support him, as did Clara. The elder, leaning on a cane, didn't speak, just looked at Trey and his group. Leo saw this and walked over to him. Sir, does your word carry weight in this village? The elder sighed. I'm old. I'm useless now. The young people don't listen. As soon as he said this, people in the crowd rushed to disagree. Elder, what are you saying? Of course we listen to you. That's right, Elder. Some villages were like that. The village elder's word was more effective than anything the mayor could say. Leo could see it. The villagers deeply respected the old man. Even Trey's group had fallen silent, though their faces were still filled with resentment. Leo smiled and addressed the crowd. Everyone, I'm sorry. Rush has decided to withdraw its investment from here. The 1-year lease fee will be our gift to you. Starting next year, we won't be needing the land. As soon as Leo spoke, a wave of murmurs swept through the crowd. An auntie who had been with Trey shouted, How can you do that? Didn't you say you'd lease it for 10 years? And who are you? Do you have the authority to speak for Rush? Leo smiled and nodded. I can. After all, I was the one who signed the check for the $500,000 investment. Leo. Kevin started to say something, but Sophia stopped him. Not now. She knew Leo wasn't the type to act on impulse. He wouldn't make a rash decision based on a few people's words. He had to have a plan. After Leo spoke, the discussions below grew louder. Most of the young people had left to work in the cities, leaving a lot of land uncultivated. The establishment of the production farm had leased this land at a fair and reasonable price. For the villagers, this was a huge benefit. Who wouldn't like an extra source of income for nothing? But now he was suddenly saying it was over. For a moment, it was hard to accept. The elder sighed. He didn't want this either, but he knew the village was in the wrong. He could only lower his stance and ask tentatively, Young man, can we discuss this further? As the elder's voice fell, the surroundings instantly quieted. Everyone looked at Leo, waiting for his reply. But Leo shook his head. I'm sorry, Elder. The environment here is just not suitable for investment anymore. The Elder nodded. So be it. It's our fault. On behalf of everyone, I apologize. He even looked like he was about to bow. Leo wouldn't dare accept such a gesture and quickly went to support him. At this moment, the town mayor and the council had arrived, late as usual. Seeing Leo, they started jogging over. Mr. White, what brings you here? You should have let us know. We would have rolled out the welcome mat for you. Leo had met these two before. When Rush made its investment, they were the village representatives. As they approached, the crowd instinctively made way for them. What brings you here today? The mayor asked with a broad smile. Leo, still supporting the elder, had Clara bring out a stool for him to sit on. Then he took out 2 packs of cigarettes, gave one to the mayor and the council head, and passed the rest around to the villagers. Mayor Joe, I just came today to check on the farm's progress. It's just. Leo paused deliberately. Mayor Joe tensed up. Seeing Trey, he had a pretty good idea of what had happened. But he didn't dare speak up now. He could only wait for Leo to continue. The village was notoriously poor. The establishment of the production farm was their only hope of escaping poverty. Both the county and the city were paying close attention. If something went wrong, his position would be in jeopardy. This was the effect Leo wanted. He continued, the farm is developing very well. It's just that we can't handle the pressure anymore. So we're planning to pull our investment, effective immediately. As for the fruit and tea trees we invested in, I'll be taking them with me. Of the $500,000 Rush had invested, a large portion, besides land leases, worker wages, and expert fees, had gone to purchasing those trees. Since he was leaving, he wasn't going to leave them behind. The mayor was a sharp man. He quickly said, Mr. White, I deeply admire you as a person. I understand your thoughts and completely support your decision. It's just that the trees still have fruit on them, and the tea plants were just transplanted. Digging them up now would ruin them. Why don't you wait a little longer? The mayor's only strategy now was to stall. Stall until Leo's anger subsided, then ask the county officials to help mediate. Maybe there was still a chance to salvage the situation. At this point, Leo gave Kevin a look. It was his turn to take the stage. Kevin wasn't stupid, just not as smooth. Seeing Leo's signal, he understood. He was supposed to play the good cop. Leo, why don't we listen to the mayor and wait a little longer? Everyone here is very supportive of the demonstration farm. As Kevin spoke, others in the crowd chimed in. That's right, Mr. White. We were wrong. We apologize to you and Kevin. Please, just wait a little longer. But Leo seemed impervious to their pleas, still shaking his head. Kevin continued, we've put so much effort into this. How can you just walk away? Leo shot back. What else am I supposed to do? Pay everyone $2,000 a month? I'm sorry, I don't have that kind of money. Those who had just arrived didn't know what was going on and started asking. When they heard that Trey had demanded a salary of $2,000 a month, they were furious. With demands like that, who would dare to stay? What company would dare to enter their village? As everyone turned their accusing gazes on him, Trey panicked, standing frozen in place, smoking his cigarette. He was one of the few able-bodied young men in the village. He found working in the city too tiring, so he just stayed home, didn't farm, and lived off his parents. When a rich outsider came to the village, he thought he could scam some money. People like him were everywhere. Once the situation was clear, it was easier to resolve. Mayor Joe stepped forward, thumping his chest and making a guarantee. Mr. White, you can rest assured, this kind of thing will never happen again. The road to getting our village out of poverty is already hard enough. Anyone who dares to throw a wrench in the works, no matter who they are, is an enemy of our village. Trey spat on the ground defiantly, but didn't say anything else. Leo, Kevin called out, trying to persuade him again. But Leo just threw up his hands. Rush is definitely pulling out. We can't take this risk. Since Leo was still holding firm, everyone's hopes died. Sigh. Mayor Joe sighed. Just when things seemed most hopeless, Leo spoke again. Kevin, do you really like this village that much? Kevin glanced at Clara, then nodded vigorously. Yes, everyone here is great. Leo said, Rush is definitely pulling out. But for your sake, I can lend you $60,000. You can run it yourself. Kevin was stunned. The crowd was stunned. $60,000. It was an astronomical sum. Would he really dare to borrow it? To take on a huge debt for a thankless job? Clara tugged on Kevin's arm, shaking her head, signaling that it wasn't necessary. $60,000 could be used for so many other things. If he couldn't pay it back, his life would be ruined. But under everyone's astonished gazes, Kevin nodded. Okay, I'll borrow it. Kevin, son, Kevin. Many people who genuinely cared for him tried to dissuade him. It was too risky. Leo smiled and nodded, raising his voice. I hope they're worthy of your sacrifice and don't let you lose. Yeah, Leo could clearly feel that the way the villagers looked at Kevin had changed. Clara's gaze, especially. Was this what being moved felt like? Kevin found a chance to pull Leo aside. What do you mean? Are you really going to lend me $60,000? I can't guarantee I can pay it back. Sophia stood beside them, looking at Leo with curiosity. She also wanted to know what he was planning. Leo walked over to a large banyan tree and sat on a random rock. Someone wants to use the demonstration farm to create trouble, stir up the villagers, and ruin Rush's reputation. I came here today specifically to decouple the farm from Rush. Rush is a big target right now. If this farm continues under the Rush name, with someone plotting against it, it will never succeed. Today's commotion was a blessing in disguise. It gave us a reasonable excuse to pull Rush out, and to help you gain a huge amount of prestige. Kevin's heart pounded. He looked at Leo in amazement. This was possible, but he still asked, "What about the $60,000? Leo shrugged. "Of course I'm lending it to you. Then you use that money to buy the demonstration farm for me." Kevin hesitated. What if I can't pay it back?" Leo said nonchalantly. "Can't pay it back? Then just give me 51% of the equity in the production base and the Clara brand. I only want the equity. You can handle the operations. But there's one thing you need to be careful about. And don't think I'm being cynical. You have to legally separate the Clara brand from the production base. Otherwise, when the brand makes money, the villagers will get jealous, and that will cause a lot of trouble. You can always build another production base, but the brand is something you can never give away." Kevin walked away. As he left, he called Leo brother, his voice trembling. It was a good thing he left quickly, or he might have started crying. Under the banyan tree, only Leo and Sophia remained. Sophia said, "The reason you did all this is because you see the potential in the Clara brand, right?" Leo didn't deny it, nodding directly. "The hottest variety show and the most popular celebrities will be strongly recommending it. If it doesn't become a hit, then something's wrong. That's why I rejected the supermarket's consignment offer. Once the brand is a hit, the distributors will come to us." The villagers in Clara were grateful to Kevin. Kevin was grateful to Leo. But Leo felt that he was the biggest winner of all. The $60,000 was just moving money from his left hand to his right. He hadn't lost anything. As for the 49% equity, he had always intended to give it to Kevin and Clara. It was the only way to tie them down and make them work hard for him. Sophia asked again, "Aren't you worried that someone will use Rush's withdrawal to stir up trouble?" Leo shook his head, took out his phone, and pressed play on the recording. With the villagers' aggressive demands on record, pulling out was perfectly reasonable. Besides, he wasn't completely abandoning them. People, sometimes, are incredibly rational. "We're heading back. Are you sure you're not coming?" Leo asked, rolling down the car window to talk to Kevin. Kevin shook his head. "The TV crew is coming soon. There's still a lot to arrange." "All right then. Mr. Stewart will send someone over tomorrow to sign the papers and handle the transfer. Just cooperate with him." Okay. Leo didn't waste any more words, just waved at Clara and Annie. "Clara, Annie, goodbye." "Goodbye." After the car left, Annie pulled on Clara's hand and asked in a small voice, "Sister, who was that?" Clara glanced at Kevin and then said, "A good person. A very good person. To your brother and to me." Leo had no idea he had just been given the good person card. On the drive back, he went much slower than on the way there. He had to. Sophia was a little carsick. They could only drive for a bit and then stop to rest. "When I get old, I'm going to live in the countryside," Sophia said, picking some wildflowers on the side of the road. Leo shot back. "Do you know how to garden? If not, you should drop that idea right now. Besides, there will be fewer and fewer people in the countryside. By the time you're old enough to move there, you might not find anyone to talk to." Sophia blinked at Leo, confused. "It can't be that bad, can it?" Leo didn't explain. The next few years would be a critical period for urbanization. Houses in the city would not only get more and more expensive, but there would also be more and more of them. People from the countryside would migrate to the cities. The rural areas would gradually become deserted. It was the trend. Right now, the rich were moving to the city. In the future, the rich would be moving to the suburbs. The weather in the mountains was unpredictable. As they chatted, the sky turned misty and a wind picked up. Sophia stopped playing and called out to Leo, "Let's go, time to head back." Yeah, it was still an hour's drive to the county road. The mountain roads were already difficult, and if it started to rain, it would be even more trouble. Leo didn't want to delay. After getting back in the car, they chatted idly. Suddenly, Sophia said, "What if we break down in the mountains? What would we do?" Without thinking, Leo replied, "I'd feed you to the wolves." Sophia wasn't angry, just laughed. "To a wolf like you?" This was Sophia, poised, intelligent, and quick-witted. Leo's expression didn't change as he kept driving, just grumbling. You stole my line, fine. But we're in the middle of nowhere. Can't you at least pretend to be a little scared? You're making me look bad. Sophia hummed a little tune, watching the scenery fly by. Oh, I'm scared, she said nonchalantly. I just don't show it. What she was scared of, she didn't say, and Leo didn't ask. As they finally emerged from the mountain road and got onto the county road, Sophia sighed. What a shame. Leo explained, breaking down in the mountains isn't a good idea. There really are wolves. Maybe we'll break down in a bit. Sophia pretended not to understand, but a smile played on her lips. As they neared the county seat, the sky grew darker and a light rain began to fall. Just as Leo had predicted, the car suddenly sputtered and died. No matter how many times he turned the key, it wouldn't start. Sophia looked at the two words on the sign next to them, Starlight Inn, and shot Leo a glare. Could you be any more obvious? Leo shrugged. It really won't start. This piece of junk. I'll have to get my dad a new car. Your car just happens to break down perfectly in a motel parking spot. Sophia didn't say anything, just got out of the car and walked into the motel, a light drizzle dampening her hair. The owner was a middle-aged woman watching TV at the front desk with a younger woman. She stood up quickly when she saw Sophia enter. She was about to speak when Leo walked in. Seeing Leo give her a wink, the owner's smile instantly vanished. One room is $80. We have two available. Leo was completely bewildered. What kind of business was this? Are you staying? Sophia asked, trying to suppress a laugh as she looked at Leo. He was the one who said the car wouldn't start, and this was the only place around. Leo was stunned. This wasn't how the script was supposed to go. Wasn't she supposed to say there was only one room left? And since there were no other places to stay, they would have to share a room for one night? This owner wasn't playing by the rules. Still, Leo could only grit his teeth and say yes. The owner smiled. All right, I'll need to see your IDs. Sophia carried a small purse and always had her driver's license with her. She took it out and handed it over. Leo also pulled his out of his pocket. Seeing this, Sophia blinked. I don't remember you having a habit of carrying your ID with you. Luckily, Leo was thick-skinned enough not to blush. I didn't used to, he said nonchalantly, but I do now. It's a good habit to get into. Heh. Sophia didn't expose him. She took her room key and went upstairs. After they left, the younger woman, cracking sunflower seeds, asked the owner, Sis, what if they're a couple? Isn't what you did kind of messed up? The owner shrugged indifferently. If they're really a couple, even if I give them two rooms, they'll only use one. I can just refund them in the morning. We don't have any other guests tonight anyway. Giving them two rooms saves the girl from getting pressured. You need to learn this stuff. I've seen too many young couples whose cars break down right in our parking lot. If it was a real breakdown, fine. But have you ever seen a car that breaks down and then is perfectly fine after a night's sleep? If Leo had been there to hear that, he would have definitely complained about what a terrible businesswoman she was. In any case, he never wanted to come back here again. The two rooms were next to each other. Leo watched as Sophia shut her door with a thud before he dejectedly went to open his own. The little motel was simple, but it had all the necessary amenities. Leo first called his parents to tell them he wouldn't be home tonight, then went to take a shower. Just as he finished, he heard a knock on the door. He looked through the peephole and saw it was Sophia. He opened the door. I'm hungry. They had only had a bowl of noodles for lunch and hadn't eaten since. Leo hadn't felt anything before, but hearing her words, his stomach started to rumble too. I'll ask the owner if she serves food, he said quickly. Sophia sighed. Already asked. She doesn't. Only instant ramen. But what? It's not far to the town center from here. The owner has bikes. It's only a 10-minute ride. But it's raining. Leo looked at Sophia and said with a completely straight face, Do you believe me if I say I can make the car run for another 10 minutes? Sophia looked at him, her expression clearly asking, Do I look like an idiot? Leo fell silent. But then Sophia said, I believe you. When Leo and Sophia came downstairs, the motel owner and the young woman at the desk were still watching TV and cracking sunflower seeds. As the door swung shut behind them, the younger one spoke. Hey sis, they're gone. Think they'll be back. The owner shrugged. Who knows? Who cares? I got their money for the rooms, either way. True. Leo drove into the small town of Oak Creek. It was no Seattle, but there were still a few places to grab a bite. Sticking to the principle of keeping things simple, he pulled into the parking lot of a 24-hour diner, figuring they could eat quickly and get back to sleep. The main reason he decided to stop for the night was pure exhaustion. He'd been hung over from a night before and had gotten up at the crack of dawn today. Even a man made of iron would be worn out. If he were alone, he might have chanced driving tired, but with Sophia in the car, safety came first. If she hadn't come looking for him earlier, he would have showered and passed out right then and there. Need anything else? Leo asked, wiping his mouth with a napkin after finishing his burger. Sophia had been thinking of walking around town a bit, but she could see the fatigue etched on Leo's face. She shook her head. I'm full. Let's head back. Sound good? Outside, the rain was coming down harder, driven by a cold wind. The moment they stepped out of the diner, a shiver ran through Sophia. Leo noticed and instinctively wrapped an arm around her, pulling her close. It was a little better that way. They hurried to the car, their clothes getting damp in the downpour. In the dim glow of the dashboard lights, Leo found himself staring at Sophia, her rain-kissed hair and flushed cheeks, making her look particularly beautiful. Like what you see? Sophia asked playfully. Leo nodded honestly. Pleased with his reaction, she smiled. Then keep looking. Woman, you are tempting me to commit a crime. Sophia just winked at him. Then, she slipped off her shoes, lifted her feet just high enough for Leo to see her nylon-clad ankles. If that's tempting, what do you call this? She purred. You bought them, you know. It was true. The last time Leo had gone to the gaming lounge to find her, he bought her a whole pack of stockings. He'd never seen her wear any of them and had been secretly disappointed. He never expected this. I'm begging you to be a good girl right now, Leo said, clinging to his last shred of self-control. Who the hell could withstand this? Seeing the look on his face, Sophia stuck out her tongue, then obediently put her shoes back on as if nothing had happened. Drive, chauffeur. In front of others, Sophia was the picture of a gentle, quiet, well-behaved girl. But with Leo, she was a little vixen. Even he had trouble keeping up with her sometimes. He took a deep breath, ignored her teasing, and started the car, heading back toward the motel. When they pulled up, Leo was about to get out, but Sophia stopped him. What's up? He asked, curious. Can you just hold me for a second? It was the kind of request that was impossible to refuse. The car's interior was cramped, but even leaning over the center console, it wasn't too difficult to wrap his arms around her. Jerk, she whispered into his shoulder. Tell me, if one day you couldn't find me, what would you do? Leo froze, caught off guard by the sudden seriousness. He thought for a moment. Eat, sleep, and look for you. Until I found you. Sophia seemed satisfied with that answer. And what if one day I couldn't find you? Eat, drink, and be merry. She shook her head against his chest. Wrong. I'd eat, sleep, and look for you. She paused. Unless you didn't want me anymore. Leo gently tapped her on the forehead. Sophia's affection was tinged with an almost stubborn devotion. For him, she had thrown away a 3-year dream and set aside all her pride. She was so strong-willed that even when she knew something was a mistake, she'd never regret it. How could I ever let you lose? Leo said softly. Sophia lifted her head, her smile radiant. Good. She looked at him again, her expression turning serious. But if there ever comes a day when you're really tired of me, just tell me. Her voice dropped to a whisper. I'll find a place where you can't see me, and I'll just keep watching you. Leo reached out and gently patted her cheek. And make me search high and low for you? You wish. He yawned. Come on, let's go. I'm dead tired. He opened the car door and got out. Sophia followed, quickly catching up and taking his hand. Her fingers were cold, but felt good. At her door, Leo paused. It's pretty cold tonight. Want me to warm up the bed for you? Sophia gave him a mischievous smile. Okay, but no funny business. Leo threw his hands up in mock surrender. Then what's the point? I'm out. Sophia stared, dumbfounded as he turned to leave. Wait, according to every book and movie, aren't you supposed to promise you'll behave? Leo just looked at her over his shoulder. If I said that now, would you even listen? Good night, you villain. Thump. The sound of her door closing echoed in the hallway. Leo stood there for a few seconds before finally walking away. Back in his own room, he found a few small business cards slipped under the door. He picked one up, glanced at it, and was just pulling out his phone when it rang. Damn, talk about timing. What? He answered, his exhaustion making him grumpy. Luckily, Chloe was getting used to it. Where are you? I went to your house today, but you weren't there, and you didn't answer your phone. Went with Sophia to check on the production facility, Leo said directly. It got too late to drive back, so we got a room in Oak Creek. You're alone? Nope. 2 of us. Sophia. Yeah. Chloe was silent. After a long pause, she asked, her voice small, 1 room? Leo sighed. I wish. But the owner insisted on a buy one get one free deal. Can you believe it? Though she was clearly disappointed, Chloe couldn't help but let out a small laugh at that. Are you coming back tomorrow? Yeah. After hanging up, a wave of exhaustion hit him. He'd lost all interest in the little cards. Without thinking, he habitually slipped them into his pocket, fell onto the bed, and was asleep in seconds. The next morning, Leo was in a deep sleep when a sharp knocking at the door startled him awake. He rubbed his eyes and, forgetting where he was, stumbled to the door shirtless. It was only when he saw Sophia standing in the hallway that he remembered he was in a motel. He didn't panic. "Come on in." Sophia's breath hitched. She spun around, not daring to look at him. "You lazy pig, get dressed. We have to go." Leo wasn't listening. He grabbed her arm, pulled her into the room, and shut the door behind her. "Go? Go where?" he asked, playfully pinning her against the door with one hand. Sophia tilted her head up slightly, biting her lower lip and trying to steady her breathing. "Back home. My dad's back." Her voice was a little shaky. "It wouldn't be good if he found out I wasn't home last night." Leo stared at her, then simply pointed to his own cheek. Sophia knew exactly what he meant. She leaned in and quickly pressed her lips to his skin. "There. Happy." Leo grinned, satisfied. Okay. He let her go, ran to the bed to throw on a shirt, and then disappeared into the bathroom. He was fast, finishing up in less than 2 minutes. The drive from Oak Creek back to Sophia's neighborhood took over an hour. The whole time, she seemed distracted. Just as they were pulling up to her house, Leo finally asked, "What's wrong?" Sophia shook her head and sighed. "I have to go to Seattle in a couple of days, so I won't be going back to Riverbend with you." "That's a shame," Leo said. "I was thinking I'd take you guys out somewhere fun once I'm done with my work." At the word guys, Sophia shot him a glare. "You guys? In your dreams." She huffed. "I'm leaving. Bye." With that, she opened the door and stormed out of the car. Leo sat there, stunned. Did I say something wrong? He decided not to dwell on it. He rolled down the window and yelled after her, "Hey, you, stop right there." Sophia turned around, a confused look on her face. "What now?" To her surprise, Leo shouted, "You saw me half naked. You have to take responsibility for me now." Ahem. Just as he finished, a cough came from nearby. Sophia heard it too. When she looked over, she immediately covered her face with her hands. It was the first time in her life she'd ever felt so mortified. Sophia, she knew she couldn't hide. Slowly, she lowered her hands. "Dad, you're back." "Dad." Leo was just as shocked. What were the odds? As awkward as it was, he got out of the car. Sophia's father, Stephen Sue, wore glasses and carried a briefcase. As Leo approached, Mr. Sue looked him up and down. "Hello, sir," Leo said politely. "Mr. Sue nodded. "Why don't you come inside for a bit?" Leo was about to agree, but Sophia rushed to her father's side and took his arm. "We have to go, Dad. He has things to take care of." She shot Leo a look, signaling for him to leave. She was brave enough to introduce Leo to her mother, but her father was a different story. She was afraid that once her dad found out about Leo's reputation, he'd get beaten up. "Mr. Sue noticed the subtle exchange, but didn't call her out on it, sighing internally. They grow up so fast. Leo got the message. Sophia wasn't like Chloe. When Chloe said no, sometimes she meant yes. When Sophia said no, she meant no. "Sir, I do have some business to attend to today, so I won't impose. I'll come by and pay a proper visit another time." Mr. Sue didn't press the issue, just nodding in acknowledgement. After Leo had driven away Mr. Sue finally asked his daughter, "So that's Leo White?" Sophia nodded, admitting it freely. "Yep, Mr. Sue wanted to ask where they had been and what they were doing out so early, but he held his tongue. She was growing up, and she deserved her own space. Besides, he trusted her. He had seen too many high school romances end in nothing. The lesson he had always tried to instill in Sophia was that teenage crushes were fleeting infatuations, most of which couldn't withstand the simple tests of real life. Before marriage, it was fine to love, but you had to love yourself first. It was that guidance that had made Sophia so mature and principled. Still, he asked casually, "Are you two together?" Sophia guessed what he was thinking. Instead of answering directly, she said with a dreamy look, "Being with him. It just makes me really happy. For now, at least, I only want to be with him." Mr. Sue understood the implication. "And what about later?" "Later," Sophia repeated, her eyes twinkling. "Later, as long as you don't beat him to death, I'll still be with him." Mr. Sue was completely baffled by that, but didn't get a chance to ask what she meant. "Come on, let's go to the market. I'm craving your steamed sea bass." A smile touched Mr. Sue's lips, his eyes full of affection for his daughter. "All right, I'll make it for you." He was a man of letters, but for Sophia, the hands that held textbooks could just as easily wield a kitchen knife. After dropping off Sophia, Leo swung by his dad's law firm. The old man tried several times to ask where he'd been last night, but Leo just pretended not to notice. "Hey, Dad," Leo said, wandering around the office. "You sure you don't want to reconsider coming to Rush Sportswear as head of the legal department? We're going to be a household name in this state. You can't let someone else have all the glory." His dad, David, took a drag from his cigarette, his eyes still on a case file. Not interested. The bigger the company, the more problems. I'd rather spend that time with your mother. Leo fell silent. His dad couldn't string two romantic words together when he was with Helen, but behind her back, he was a regular poet. David spoke again. But Rush is getting bigger. You'll face more disputes. You really do need to set up a legal department. Leo nodded. Why do you think I'm here? Got any recommendations? David opened his desk drawer without a word and pulled out a manila folder, handing it to him. Contact them yourself. He had already found people for Leo. Even if Leo hadn't asked, he would have brought it up. It wasn't just Leo who had noticed the negative chatter online. He and Helen had seen it too. Leo glanced through the files and set them down. The legal department is too important. I don't know these people, and honestly, I don't fully trust them. He leaned in conspiratorially. Can you spare a few of your guys to go undercover for me? They could just feed me reports on the side. David rolled his eyes, long accustomed to Leo's shrewdness. Just say who you want. Leo spread his hands. This firm of yours is tiny. You barely get any cases. Why don't you handle it all yourself and let everyone else come work for me? David, who had been taking a puff, choked on the smoke. Get out. On my way, Leo said, grabbing the folder from the desk as he left. These people were handpicked by his father. They had to be good. He'd have Mr. Stewart handle the outreach. As for the mole, his dad would find someone. He didn't need to worry. He was always teasing Chloe about being born with a silver spoon, but maybe his own birth hadn't been so bad either. Speaking of Chloe, he remembered his meeting with her father. He had to prepare a gift before seeing Ethan Jiang. Showing up empty-handed was bad form. The weather had gotten cold lately. Maybe he'd get him a winter coat. Ethan gave him one. Now he'd give one back. It was an even trade, and at least the one he bought wouldn't have a hole in it. Because Leo had specified that he wanted to meet without Chloe knowing, Ethan Jiang chose a private business club not far from his house. When Leo walked in, Ethan already had a cup of coffee poured for him. Unconsciously, his perception of the young man had started to change. Mr. Jiang, a gift for you. Hope you like it. Ethan had been wondering what was in the bag Leo was carrying. He hadn't expected it to be for him. He took it, and when he saw the heavy winter coat inside, his eyebrow twitched involuntarily. He'd received countless gifts in his life, but a coat was a first. For a moment, he didn't know what to feel. He set it aside and looked at Leo. Leo took a sip of the coffee. It tasted just like the cheap stuff his dad drank. Still, out of politeness, he nodded knowingly. This is good coffee. Ethan refilled his cup. I have a stake in a small coffee plantation in Costa Rica. The beans are a private roast I only give to friends and partners. If you like it, I'll have some sent over to you. Leo, of course, wasn't going to refuse. Even if he didn't drink it, he could always give it away. He could just imagine telling people, this is the same coffee the CEO of the John Corporation drinks. Ethan, oblivious to Leo's thoughts, continued. So, what did you want to see me about? Leo set down his cup, took a deep breath to compose himself, and got straight to the point. Mr. Jiang, if your brother and your brother-in-law were to go bankrupt, would you step in? Ethan's hand paused mid-sip. He realized Leo had figured it out. He took a slow drink before answering. Yes. The answer surprised Leo. The world of the wealthy was often treacherous. Family ties didn't always mean harmony. Ethan was known for his ruthless business tactics. He didn't seem the sentimental type. But Leo wasn't surprised for long. Ethan added, I'd step in to make sure they sink even deeper. Leo looked at him, never having imagined this side of the man. Ethan sighed. At the end of the day, there's still family. I can't be the one to do it. Leo shrugged. That's fine. I understand. He leaned forward. But some things can't just be forgotten. The move you can't make. I can. Leo had only come today to get a clear answer from Ethan. If he intended to intervene, Leo would have to back off for now. He wasn't arrogant enough to think he could currently take on the John Corporation. All the schemes and tricks in the world were child's play in the face of absolute power. One misstep and it would all backfire. Since Ethan had given him the green light, Leo had no more reservations. Ethan could see Leo's intentions. He offered a single piece of advice. Even a corner dog will bite back. Don't push it too far. Don't worry, I won't. After all, Julian and I are good friends. Right. Leo didn't want to dwell on the topic. Probing Ethan's attitude was only one reason for the meeting. He also had a business proposal. There's a rundown area just outside the university, the Mill District. It's ripe for redevelopment. The official announcement hasn't been made yet, but it's coming. Are you interested? Leo wasn't a real estate developer. He didn't know all the ins and outs, and he couldn't swallow a project this big on his own. He wanted to bring Ethan in as a partner. He was the professional, and if something went wrong, it was always good to have a giant standing in front of you. Ethan considered it for a moment, then nodded. I'll look into it. Send me the detailed proposal when you have it. You'll have it tomorrow. With the business talk finished, a silence fell between them, and the atmosphere grew a little strange. It was Ethan who broke it. How have you and Chloe been lately? At the mention of Chloe, Leo's spirits lifted. He stood up, walked behind Ethan, and began rubbing his shoulders, propriety be damned. It was shameless, but he didn't care. Mr. Jiang, I hear you're going to be busy again for the next couple of weeks. Ethan didn't know what Leo was plotting, but he nodded. Yes. Leo grinned. Is there anything I could do to help? Not at the moment. I'll let you know if something comes up. Okay. How long will you be gone this time? A week if things go smoothly. Maybe half a month if they don't. After answering, Ethan slapped Leo's hands off his shoulders. Your next question is going to be if Chloe will be home alone while I'm gone, isn't it? Leo froze. The man was too sharp. He could only shake his head. Of course not. Huh. You'd better not be. Ethan patted his shoulder, gesturing for Leo to continue the massage. Her mother is busy with her own projects for a while. If you have time, spend it with Chloe. Ever since he'd learned Leo was framed, Ethan's attitude toward him had softened. He no longer opposed him seeing Chloe. Of course, he had his own reasons. He knew the precarious state of the Jiang Corporation, which was why he was so desperate to cash out and pivot. But moving too quickly was risky. One wrong move, and he could lose everything. If that day came, he'd be too busy to look after himself. He would have to entrust Chloe to Leo. With Leo around, at least she would have someone to rely on. Of course, he would never tell Leo any of this. The young should be free to enjoy their youth. As formidable as Ethan Jiang was, in the end, he was just a father, and most of what he did was for his daughter's sake. Ethan was leaving, and Chloe's mom was away. Life, Leo thought, was beautiful. Taking Chloe on a trip would make it even more beautiful. Too bad Sophia couldn't come. But on second thought, maybe that made it even more beautiful. After chatting a bit longer, Leo took his leave. He called Chloe and told her about the trip. She was even more excited than he was, completely oblivious to any impropriety. For the next day, Leo was idle. He had planned to visit Mr. Schultz, but the old teacher was away on a school trip. So he waited, ready to pick up Chloe as soon as her father left. He didn't have to wait long. The very next day, Ethan got an urgent call about some trouble and had to fly out ahead of schedule. But Leo's excitement was short-lived. The following morning, he got a call from Spike. Leo, there's trouble in the Mill District. What's wrong? There's a rumor going around that they're going to ban all the street vendors, and that they're going to build a wall between the district and the university. Spike's voice was tense. Everyone's panicking. A lot of people want to sell. Leo was confused. Isn't that a good thing for us? It would be, Spike said, but we were offering $60,000 a house. Someone else is offering 70. Leo took a deep breath to steady himself. Okay, I get it. Chloe was sitting next to him and saw the change in his expression. What's wrong? Leo shook his head. Nothing. Wait for me in the car. I need to make a call. He got out of the car. Mr. Jiang, sorry to bother you. The Mill District, did you tell anyone about it? Leo tried to recall. In his past life, the redevelopment plan wasn't confirmed until the end of October. In theory, no one but him should know about it right now. Even Spike didn't know his full intentions. He had only mentioned it to Ethan and had just sent in the proposal. And right after that, the problem had started. I only showed it to a few people to study its feasibility, Ethan said. Why? Leo's brow furrowed. He gave a warning. If you trust me, you might want to be careful with them. On the other end of the line, Ethan was silent. After a moment, he replied, I understand. Leo wasn't certain the leak came from Ethan's side, but a word of caution couldn't hurt. After hanging up with Ethan, Leo called Spike back and gave him a few simple instructions. Find out who's behind the company buying up the houses, and give Kyle and his guys some money to lay low for a while. Put this on hold. Until he understood the situation, Leo wasn't going to make another move. Making a fortune quietly by himself was one thing, but with more people involved, the risks were uncontrollable. He had deliberately avoided any strong-arm tactics because he didn't want to cause trouble. But these other guys didn't care. They came in spreading panic right away. They clearly weren't afraid of the residents finding out the truth and coming after them. Okay, Spike said. Then he asked, are they really going to build a wall around the district? Who knows? Leo replied. What if they're putting up a wall for demolition? After hanging up, Leo got back in the car. Chloe asked gently, what happened? Nothing important, Leo said, shaking his head. So, where do you want to go? Seeing that he didn't want to talk about it, Chloe let it drop. She tapped her chin thoughtfully. I don't know. As long as I'm with you, anywhere is fine. Leo glanced at her and playfully flicked her nose. I seem to remember you saying you wanted to go camping. Chloe's eyes curved into crescents as she smiled, nodding enthusiastically. Uh-huh. Then let's go. They were in Chloe's Audi. Before heading out, they stopped to buy a tent, food, and even a couple of fishing rods. Unlike their last group outing, this time it was just the two of them. They would drive as far as they could, the only goal being to spend time together. After a few hours, they found a perfect spot by a river at the foot of a mountain. Leo set up the tent first, then started gathering firewood. It wouldn't be good to be without a fire at night. He at least knew that much. Chloe kept busy too. Blushing at some private thought, she spent a long time inside the tent, spreading out the sleeping bags. By the time she emerged, Leo had already built a fire pit and set up a small folding table. "Know how to fish?" Leo asked, pulling the rods out of the trunk. Chloe shook her head, her eyes full of curiosity. "You can teach me." "All right, come on," Leo said without fuss. "I'll grill you some fish for dinner tonight." Chloe was ecstatic. Okay. In 2004, the environment around Riverbend was still pristine, and the rivers were full of fish. It was Chloe's first time fishing, and she found it fascinating. After Leo helped her tie the line and bait the hook with a worm, she mimicked his motion, casting the line into the water. She stared intently at the unmoving bobber. A few times, Leo tried to talk to her, but she just put a finger to her lips, shushing him. "I told you can't talk while you're fishing." Leo rolled his eyes. He hated it when people talked while he was fishing, and now he was getting lectured himself. But Chloe didn't want to ignore him completely. While her eyes stayed fixed on the bobber, her hand snuck over and took his, playfully tracing circles in his palm. It didn't last long. The bobber twitched, and she snatched her hand back, gripping the rod. Leo could feel her tense up, her breath held in anticipation. A moment later, the bobber shot down, and with a swift tug, Chloe pulled up. She'd actually caught one. It was just a small sunfish, but it was enough to make Chloe jump up and down with excitement. "I caught it," she exclaimed, not caring about the slimy fish as she held it up to show Leo. Leo smiled. "Nice one. We can add it to dinner." Chloe's eyes twinkled. "Can we keep it? It's the first fish I ever caught." "Whatever makes you happy." That made her even happier. "You catch one too, and we'll keep them together." Leo looked at his own motionless bobber. "I'll try my best." Chloe was so excited she was even ready to bait her own hook, but Leo stopped her. "Worms are gross, all soft and slimy. Not fun." Since he said so, Chloe just watched him do it, occasionally hurrying him along. The moment he was done, she cast her line again. Sometimes luck is a strange thing. Though they were fishing in the same spot, nothing was biting Leo's bait. But Chloe, the first-timer, was catching fish one after another. Maybe it was beginner's luck. She was clearly less attached to the later catches, putting them in a separate bucket and saying they could grill them later. Leo was ready to give up. It was pointless. "Just wait a little longer," Chloe said from beside him. "You might get something." Leo threw up his hands. "I'd rather be fishing for a mermaid." A blush crept up Chloe's cheeks. "Leo." "Yeah." Instead of answering, she lunged at him. Caught off guard, Leo lost his balance and tumbled backward onto the ground. Luckily, the grass was thick, so it didn't hurt. Chloe just giggled, hovering over him. She even tried to press her lips to his cheek, but Leo blocked her with his hand. He wasn't falling for the same trick twice. Just as Chloe was about to pout, Leo cut off her chance to speak. A moment later, feeling breathless, she finally pushed him away. Leo wiped his lips. Lychee-flavored lip balm. Chloe covered her face, too embarrassed to speak. Leo got up from the grass and happened to glance at his fishing rod. The bobber was gone. He yanked the rod back. "Fish on." Chloe was more excited about Leo's catch than he was. She carefully placed the fish in the bucket with her first one. "I'm taking these two home to keep as pets." Leo rolled his eyes. Of all the things to keep as a pet, she chooses fish. But seeing the hopeful look in her eyes, he couldn't bring himself to say no. "All right, let's go make dinner." Leo had brought a full set of camping gear, even grabbing the pot from his kitchen at home. He could only imagine the look on his mom's face when she couldn't find it. But since he wouldn't be there to see it, he didn't dwell on it. "Leo, look, that garden over there has cabbage and lettuce. They look really good." Chloe tugged on his sleeve, pointing to a vegetable patch not far away. Leo motioned for her to be quiet. "I see it," he whispered. "We'll go pick some after it gets dark. It's not right in broad daylight." Chloe giggled. The great CEO of Rush Sportswear, planning to steal vegetables. The thought of it was thrilling. "Okay, I'll go with you." Leo nodded in agreement. He gathered some large, smooth stones from the riverbank and built a simple stove, not for looks, but just stable enough to hold the pot. Chloe kept busy too, bringing over the firewood. For her, this was a completely new experience. She sat on a nearby rock, her chin propped in her hands, watching Leo work his magic. "Leo," she asked suddenly, "have you ever cooked for another girl by yourself?" During their high school class camping trip, she'd heard people say what a good cook he was. She'd been dying to try his food ever since, but never had the chance. Now that she finally did, she couldn't help but ask. Leo's hands paused for a fraction of a second before resuming their work, stirring the vegetables in the pot. So, you should feel honored. It wasn't a direct answer, but in Chloe's ears, it meant she was the first. Her eyes curved into crescents as she smiled. I'll cook for you in the future, too. Leo shrugged. As long as you can stomach it, I probably can too. He added, don't worry, if I can't eat it, I won't force myself. Chloe glared at him. Can't you just say something nice to make me happy? She muttered under her breath, so bad with words. Leo picked up a piece of meat with his chopsticks, tasting it as he chewed. Haven't you heard enough nice words in your life? Chloe wasn't having it. But I just want to hear them from you, she said stubbornly. Leo pulled a set of disposable plates and cutlery from the trunk and handed them to her. My beautiful princess, he said with a flourish. Come and try the meal I have prepared for you with my own 2 hands. Chloe was very pleased with the title, smiling as she opened her mouth, gesturing for him to feed her. With no one else around, she felt no shame. The moment the food touched her tongue, her smile grew even wider. Leo's cooking was good, but only by normal standards. Chloe had grown up with a private chef at home and had tasted every delicacy imaginable, so she wasn't blown away. But it was this simple, ordinary flavor that she loved. Leo, what if we started a food cart and sold fried rice? Chloe suggested suddenly, leaving Leo stunned. This girl seemed to have a thing for street vending. No way. In the future, you and I will have a combined net worth in the billions, and you want to run a food cart? Have you no shame? Chloe pouted. What's so shameful about it? And anyway, I don't want the Jiang Corporation. They can give it to someone else. I want to start my own business. She shook her fist in front of his face to show her determination. Leo swatted her hand down. It's fine to dream, but don't daydream. Who else would they give the Jiang Corporation to? And how are you going to start a business? By being a hands-off boss? The only reason you haven't gone bankrupt is because your dad is Ethan Jiang. Chloe was barely involved with her website, Local Link, anymore. A professional team was managing it, and it seemed to be doing well. But on this point, she was stubborn. She turned her head away and continued to mumble, give it to anyone else in the family. I don't care. I don't like it. All that backstabbing and fake smiling for a few shares. A family that doesn't act like a family. What's the point? And besides, she said, turning back, Local Link is about to raise a round of funding. Aren't you starting an investment firm? Interested in being my angel investor? Leo thought about it and nodded. That's not a problem. How much do you need for the first round? We calculated that if we want to target the national market, we'll need $1 million for the first round. Leo put down his chopsticks and stared at Chloe, dumbfounded. What did you just say? I said we need $1 million. No, the sentence before that. Chloe thought for a moment, then said uncertainly, interested in being my angel investor? Not interested. $1 million? He didn't have that kind of money. Chloe was completely bewildered by his reversal. When she realized what had happened, she lunged at him, jumping onto his back. Say you're not interested again. Not interested, not interested. You can crush me, and I'll still say I'm not interested. Leo was defiant. After a bit of wrestling, Chloe, running out of breath, slid off his back, glaring at him with puffed-out cheeks. I didn't say you had to give me the whole million. Leo feigned deafness, pretending not to hear. When it came to money, he didn't want to hear a single word. Rush Sportswear hadn't even made a few million yet. While Local Link had good prospects, it wasn't a high-profit industry. Leo wasn't interested. That money would be much better spent flipping real estate. Right now, condo prices in the Bay Area were still reasonable. In a few years, he could make a fortune. Leo, Chloe said, shaking his arm and whining sweetly. What about 100,000? With that, we could probably expand all over the Pacific Northwest. Leo could handle force, but he was powerless against Chloe's cute, pleading tone. He shot her an annoyed look. People who want investment have to give something in return. What are you going to offer to persuade me? Chloe's big eyes stared at him, unblinking. She didn't say a word, just watched him. But Leo's skin was thick. Even under her intense gaze, he continued with his work, stir-frying vegetables, then cleaning the fish she'd caught and tossing them into the pot to make a fish soup. Seeing that he was genuinely ignoring her, Chloe stomped her foot. Can't you just make your own demands? Do I have to say it? He glanced at her. The demands I'd make, you couldn't give. Chloe's face turned scarlet. How do you know if you don't ask? So you want me to say it? Oomph. Go on, say it. You'll wash the pot and dishes later and clean up all the trash. Protecting our beautiful environment is a shared responsibility. And if you have time, wash my clothes too. You jumped on me with fishy hands right after you caught that fish. Chloe was stunned. Her mouth twitched. That's it. Leo shrugged. Isn't that enough? What else did you want? Should I make a new demand? Be my woman. Chloe's eyes lit up. Okay, in your dreams. You can't have all my love to yourself. Chloe turned her head away, watching the sun dip below the horizon. She muttered something under her breath. After a long moment, she walked back over to Leo. Leo, I want to ask you a question. She began. Me? And just as she spoke, Leo's phone rang. He held up a hand to silence her and answered. Mom, I was just about to call you. You beat me to it. See? Great minds think alike. Helen's voice was anything but amused. Where are you? And where's the pot from the kitchen? I'm out having fun, Leo said, deftly changing the subject. Listen, I need to tell you something. You need to find some time to learn how to swim. Don't tell me I have to remind you about that, too. Beep, beep, beep. Helen had hung up on him. She turned to David, fuming. David, what does he mean by that? David calmly took a sip of tea, still reading his newspaper. What do you think he means? He's in love. But Sophia went to Seattle. David said nothing. Helen fell silent too. Back at the campsite, Leo hung up and looked at Chloe. My mom's going to learn how to swim. You don't need to ask anymore. The interruption had completely shattered the carefully crafted atmosphere. Chloe no longer had the courage to ask her question. She snatched the grilled fish Leo had just finished cooking and took a big bite, only to spit it out immediately. Tui, it's burnt. Leo blinked innocently. I had no idea. As the sky grew darker, Chloe scooted closer and closer to Leo by the fire, eventually leaning against him. In the flickering firelight, their shadows merged into one. Leo, I'm here. Chloe's voice was trembling, her cheeks burning. Where? Where are you putting your hand? When Leo had first put his arm around her, his hand had rested innocently on her waist, a feeling Chloe quite liked. But it wasn't long before he got restless, his hand slowly creeping upward. Just as it was about to reach its destination, she stopped him. Honestly, if Leo had just gone for it, he probably would have succeeded. But perhaps it was a rare pang of conscience, or maybe he just couldn't bear to upset her. He reluctantly pulled his hand back. My hand has a mind of its own. What's it got to do with me? He grumbled, standing up and dusting off his pants. Where are you going? Chloe asked quickly as he turned to leave. To take a leak. Want to come? Ugh, no way. Leo didn't say another word and disappeared into the darkness. Chloe waited. After a while, he still hadn't returned. A few more minutes passed, and she started to panic. When Leo was there, she felt completely safe, even in the wilderness. But now, Leo, she called out in the direction he had gone. Don't shout. His voice came from nearby. When he re-emerged into the firelight, he was holding 2 heads of cabbage. Chloe didn't care about the vegetables. She had been terrified alone in the dark. The moment she saw him, she ran and threw her arms around him. Jerk, take me with you next time. Leo sensed her distress and realized his mistake. He put the cabbage down and gently pinched her cheek. His hands were muddy from picking the vegetables, and he'd been looking for a place to wipe them. Her face seemed as good a place as any. Looking at her smudged, cat-like face, he nodded in satisfaction. Chloe, unaware of his prank, just buried her face in his chest. Don't leave me alone again, okay? She had been genuinely scared. Feeling her vulnerability, he hugged her back. I'm here. As long as you're here, I'll always be here. His words made her hug him even tighter. After a while, they sat back down by the fire. This time, Chloe rested her head directly on his shoulder, pointing at the sky and asking him the names of the stars. Leo didn't know any of them, but figuring Chloe didn't either, he started making things up. That's Orion, the hunter, and that's the Big Dipper. He's obviously using it to hunt for soup. And that one, that's Sagittarius, the archer. He's called that because he shot the soup. Chloe giggled, thinking to herself that she could stay like this forever, leaning on his shoulder, listening to him invent silly stories under a sky full of stars. Pervert, she whispered, but her hand held as tightly. After a while, Leo said a few things and got no response. He turned to look and saw that she had fallen asleep, her arms wrapped around his, her head on his shoulder, a faint smile on her lips. He didn't have the heart to wake her. From this angle, she was breathtakingly beautiful. The October nights got cold, especially by the river. In the middle of the night, a chill woke Leo with a shiver. He gently shook Chloe. What's wrong? She murmured sleepily. Let's go sleep in the tent. It's getting cold out here. Chloe opened her eyes and held out her arms. Carry me. Leo tapped her gently on the forehead, then swept her up in a princess carry and brought her into the tent. The sleeping bags were soft. He laid her down and tucked her in. Before he could make another move, she grabbed his wrist and pulled him down, hugging him tight. Jerk, I like you so much, she mumbled in her sleep. It wasn't just affection, it was trust. Feeling her breathing deepen into a steady rhythm, Leo lightly touched her lips with his, then wrapped his arms around her and fell asleep. This was good too. The next morning, just as the sky began to lighten, Leo vaguely heard someone shouting about some no-good vegetable thief. But the shouting stopped quickly. Not far from the tent, a middle-aged woman from the nearby farm grinned as she pocketed a $20 bill Leo had left, then went back to her work. Chloe was awake too. She was just watching him, her face flushed, her arms still wrapped around him. "You know, you drool in your sleep," Leo said. Chloe immediately pulled the sleeping bag over her head, utterly mortified. "No, I don't. It wasn't me. If it wasn't you, was it me?" Leo yanked the sleeping bag away, revealing her face. Chloe just blinked at him, then threw her arms around his neck. He, she giggled, a wide, goofy grin on her face. Leo had no idea what she found so amusing. After a while, she finally calmed down, unzipped the tent, and stepped outside. The sun hadn't fully risen, so the light was soft. Chloe held her hand up, letting the first rays filter through her fingers onto her face. "This is so nice." Before she could finish her thought, she felt Leo approach from behind, his arms wrapping around her waist. She leaned back into his embrace and whispered, "Leo, let's go see the sunrise at the beach sometime." Leo blinked, thinking for a moment. "Will you wear a swimsuit?" The words were barely out of his mouth when he felt a sharp pain in his foot. He wasn't wearing shoes. He yelped, pulling his arms back and hopping on one leg. "Did you have to stomp that hard?" Chloe immediately realized what she'd done. "Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I didn't know you were barefoot. Are you okay?" Leo didn't answer. He glowered, hobbled over to put on his shoes, and started packing up their things in silence. He wasn't going to mess with her. He nearly lost a foot. Seeing him ignore her, Chloe panicked. She ran over and shook his arm. "I'm sorry, okay?" Leo brushed her hand away. "No, you're not wrong. I am. I was wrong to have such unrealistic expectations. Now let's just go home." Chloe bit her lip, muttering, "I never said I wouldn't." Leo flinched but pretended not to hear, continuing to pack. Chloe was great, but she was too quick to get physical. If he didn't correct that habit, it could cause problems later. When she got no response, she grew even more frantic. She opened her mouth to speak, but Leo cut her off. "Get in the car. I'll take you back to school." "No, I don't want to go back." "You're really not leaving?" "No, fine. Then I'm leaving." Leo slammed the car door shut and started walking toward the main road, leaving her with her own car. Chloe scrambled after him, blocking his path. He just blinked, staring at her silently. "I'm sorry," she said meekly. "I'll be more careful next time." Leo knew not to push it too far. It was a half-hour walk to the nearest bus stop. He made his point. Dragging it out would just be petty. "There's going to be a next time?" Chloe quickly clapped a hand over her mouth. "No next time. That's more like it." Hearing that, Chloe's face broke into a smile. She linked her arm with his. "So, where are we going next?" They still had 2 days of fall break left. With Sophia in Seattle, Chloe didn't want to waste a single moment of her time alone with Leo. Once they were back at school, he'd be busy again, and they'd barely see each other. Leo had a mountain of things to do, but he decided they could wait. What was another day or two? The beach was too far, but they could still see a sunrise. "Let's go. Sunrise Point at Mount Rainier. We'll go see the sunrise." Okay. Leo's original plan for fall break had been to shamelessly hang out with both Chloe and Sophia, even if he was just a third wheel. But with Sophia visiting her mom, he and Chloe ended up in their own little world. He could still be reckless for a few more years. There would be other chances. From fishing to camping to watching the sunrise, Leo was exhausted, but he could see that Chloe had had the time of her life. "Ugh, I can't believe classes start tomorrow," Chloe lamented on the train back. She clearly wasn't ready for the vacation to end. Leo, however, was relieved. Finally, the girl was a force of nature when it came to shopping and sightseeing. Chloe's complaint was brief. She quickly composed herself and looked at Leo. "So, where are we going for the next break?" "You can go wherever you want. I'm staying in bed, but I can save half the space for you. Your call." Chloe was used to his crude jokes by now. She shot him a look and said, "Humph. Not until you're willing to define our relationship. You think we have a relationship that needs defining?" Chloe was at a loss for words. Her natural shyness made it hard for her to bring it up, and every time she tried, Leo would skillfully interrupt or deflect. She had figured out by now. He would say anything. He'd even say he liked her, but getting him to officially commit was nearly impossible. She knew why, which made it all the more frustrating. She knew this couldn't go on, but she couldn't stop herself. She didn't say another word until the train pulled into the station. The Land Rover was parked in the station lot. After they got off the train, they walked toward it. "I'll drop you at school first. I need to borrow the car," Leo said casually as he buckled his seatbelt. Back in Riverbend, had to get to work. He'd been playing with Chloe for days, and a lot had been put on hold. First, he needed to find out who was trying to snatch up the Mill District properties and whether Ethan's people were involved. If it was a leak from his inner circle, that would be a huge problem for Ethan. The people who saw that proposal were his most trusted aides. Leo had warned him, but he wanted to investigate for himself. He was still fuming that someone was trying to steal his prize. Besides that, there was the matter of setting up his investment company. With fall break over, the banks and business offices would be open again. The key personnel were already chosen. All that was left was finding an office. He wanted to do that himself. Real estate in the Seattle area was overpriced right now. For the same cost, he'd rather be in the Bay Area. The first investment his company would make would be in Bay Area real estate. That way, he could at least secure his future as a comfortable landlord. There was one more thing he couldn't tell Chloe about: making her relatives pay for what they did. He wasn't going to kill them, but he wasn't going to let them off easy. Thinking about it all, Leo sighed. Work was so tiring. More tiring than climbing a mountain with Chloe. Chloe sensed his mood change. "What's wrong?" Leo shook his head. "I was just thinking about you in a swimsuit. I was so excited to see you in one, but it was all for nothing. A real shame." After he'd been stomped on, Chloe had later explained that she would only wear a swimsuit for him to see. When they'd gone to Mount Rainier, Leo had cleverly booked a room at a hot springs hotel with a private bath. At the mention of it, Chloe's face turned bright red. It'll grow," Leo added suddenly. "I hear they grow faster if someone helps." Chloe fled. She ran off, face buried in her hands, looking so flustered that the other students at the entrance to the business school stared in confusion. What had happened to the ever-poised Chloe Jiang? Leo just smiled and drove away in the Land Rover, heading for the Galaxy Gaming Lounge. Because of the school holiday, business at the lounge had been booming. Spike sent Leo daily text messages reporting the revenue. Over the 7-day break, the lounge had cleared $50,000 or $60,000 in pure profit. Gaming fees only accounted for half of it. The rest came from snacks and drinks. "We're already preparing for the second location. The budget is around $200,000. Does that sound right?" Spike asked. Leo was sitting at what used to be Spike's desk, listening to his report. "How much is in the lounge's account right now?" "130,000. Okay, I'll add another 200,000. Use 300,000 for the whole operation. From the decor to the PC specs, model it after this place. We're going to open more of these, so we need to establish a brand. Keep the remaining 30,000 as a reserve." Spike, of course, had no objections and nodded immediately. He knew Leo wasn't here to check on the lounge. This level of profit was pocket change to him now. After dismissing the others, Spike closed the office door. "I had someone ask around," he said in a low voice, "but we couldn't find much. The real estate company buying up the properties is an old one, but it's never done anything significant before. They were dormant until the day I called you. Then they suddenly jumped into the Mill District." Leo nodded. Using shell companies was a common trick. He wasn't the only one who knew it. It would be difficult to find out who was really behind it. He pulled out his phone and called Laura Ian. "Boss, what's up?" Leo rarely bothered his employees on their time off. He already exploited them enough during work hours. The fact that he'd waited this long to call was a testament to his restraint. "Get in touch with Director Liu from the Economic Development Zone. Ask him if he knows anything about the Mill District redevelopment. If he doesn't, have him ask around for us." Director Liu was well-connected, but a history of personal misconduct had seen him demoted to his current position. Even so, he was still an influential figure. Thanks to the honey trap Leo had set up, Liu was now much more subdued. Living with a metaphorical knife hanging over his head, terrified the contents of that lost memory card would leak. Leo had gone to the trouble of having Gabby steal the card back specifically to distance Rush from the incident. Exposing a backup would have been easier, but then Liu would have known Rush was behind it. Even if Liu fell, his network would remain, and they could have made life difficult for Rush. This way, if the contents ever did leak, Liu would just have to chalk it up to his own carelessness. Laura called back quickly, her voice tinged with surprise. "How did you know about the Mill District?" Director Liu said that the city hasn't even made a final decision yet. They don't know if, where, or how they're going to proceed. Very, very few people know about this. He was barely aware of it himself. Leo was silent for a moment. There had been a lot of rumors in the district about banning street vendors. It was just a guess. He didn't elaborate further and quickly hung up. If the city hadn't made a decision yet, then things were getting interesting. Based on what Spike had found, the people behind this were investing a significant amount of capital. They must be incredibly confident. After the rumors started, "What's the situation in the district?" Leo asked Spike. "Most people are waiting to see what happens, but some have already started selling. The value of that area comes entirely from the university. If they ban the vendors and build a wall, it'll be worthless. Some people have even contacted Kyle, asking if we're still buying. Even though our price is lower, some would rather trust him. Kyle asked me, but I didn't give him an answer. Spike looked at Leo. So, should we keep buying? Leo shook his head immediately. No, making a little money is one thing, but trying to get rich off something like this? That's asking for trouble. Start spreading a new rumor. Quietly. Just say the Mill District might be slated for demolition and redevelopment. Spike was shocked. Is it really going to be demolished? Leo glanced at him. It's a rumor. Until there's an official notice, everything is a rumor. Though Spike couldn't understand how this would benefit Leo, he went to do as he was told. Listening to Leo was never a mistake. Leo continued. Right now, the residents are worried about not being able to run their stalls, right? Have Kyle contact those small vendors. See if they're willing to organize, to regulate themselves. If they really do get banned from vending, we'll figure something out together. Even if we can't do it offline, we can do it online. Got it. I'll arrange it, Spike said, leaving the office. Leo sat alone at the computer and lit a cigarette. He had originally planned to make a small profit from the Mill District, but someone else had interfered. Fine. Then he would just have to make a huge profit. In his past life, the compensation for this redevelopment had been substantial, but some holdouts, the nail houses, had been unsatisfied, leading to a stalemate that caused massive delays for the construction. If he couldn't make money from the buyout, he just bid to be the contractor. His biggest trump card was his ability to solve the holdout problem. The holdouts' demands were simple. Beyond money, they wanted to keep their stalls near the university. The buyout was a lump sum, but the university was a perpetual money tree. If he could solve the vendor problem, everything else would fall into place. And as it happened, he was very interested in the food delivery business model of the future. It would be a bit clunky without online payments, but not impossible. If he could really pull it off, the vendor problem wouldn't be a problem at all. After giving Spike his instructions, Leo headed back to campus. School was his main job, after all. Compared to the backstabbing and scheming of the business world, university life was much purer. There was nothing that couldn't be solved with a good fight, as long as you had a valid reason and a professor on your side. So they just took all our stuff? And they're threatening to file a report with the whole university? When Leo got back to his dorm room, he found his 3 roommates looking miserable. It turned out that over the fall break, room 718 had been raided by the Student Government Association. The reason? A supposed rule against selling snacks in the dorms. Before starting their little business, Leo had checked the student handbook several times. There was no such rule. It seemed they had just invented one because they saw Mark, who had stayed behind, as an easy target. Mark sat with his head hanging low, silent. Shane was smoking, a worried look on his face. For them, losing the inventory was a small matter. It was the threat of a formal report, a black mark on their permanent record, that was terrifying. Chad, ever the straightforward one, asked, Leo, what should we do? At his question, all eyes turned to Leo, waiting for him to take charge. Besides actual law enforcement, no one has the right to confiscate personal property. Taking it without the owner's permission is theft, plain and simple. If we're being dramatic, it's robbery. Of course we're getting it back. Who took it? You know, right? Mark, Chad, and Shane were good, honest students. A simple "the school said so," or "the teacher said so" was enough to intimidate them. But Leo was different. He wasn't just a student. He was a lawyer's son. Seeing the look in Leo's eyes, Mark tried to de-escalate. Forget it, it's not a big deal. Let's just talk to our advisor and see if there's another way. The moment he finished, Leo grabbed Mark's pillow and hurled it at him. What are you so scared of? The pillow was filled with buckwheat, heavy enough to make an impact. Leo knew from experience. Mark had hit him with it before. He'd been waiting for revenge. Who took it? Leo asked again after landing his blow. This time, Shane spoke up. The Residential Life Committee. We don't know their names. They just showed us their ID cards in this form. He handed a piece of paper to Leo. Leo took it, ignoring the content at first. The first thing he saw was the official stamp of the Student Affairs Office. Well, worried they wouldn't leave behind evidence of their crime, were they? With this, Leo felt even more confident. He pulled out his phone and called Angie, the senior who had helped them during orientation. He wasn't asking her to mediate, but to find out who was in charge of the Residential Life Committee, and whether that person could handle the heat. Angie was efficient. A few minutes later, she sent him the name and door number of the committee head. You guys coming or not? Leo asked his 3 roommates. Chad was the first to stand. What's the worst that can happen? A disciplinary report? Let's go. Shane said nothing. He stubbed out his cigarette and picked up a metal laundry pole. He seemed to reconsider, then moved to dismantle the ladder from his bunk bed. It was made of iron and would hurt a lot more. But as he started to wiggle it loose, Mark stopped him. It was Mark's ladder. Maybe. Maybe we should go to the hardware store and buy some steel pipes first. Mark asked tentatively. Leo stared at the idiots, speechless. What are you doing? Starting a brawl? Shane blinked, confused. Aren't we? Leo's whole demeanor screamed that he was ready for a fight. Come on, we're civilized people. We use our words first. With that, he walked out the door. As he passed other rooms on their floor, he shouted, Sophomores are bullying freshmen. Are there any freshmen left with a spine? It was like throwing a stone into a calm lake. The first to respond were his classmates, asking what was going on. Leo didn't explain. He just said, some senior thinks he can throw his weight around and trash our place. Anyone with a little guts, follow me. If you're scared, stay here. And listen up. If this ends in a disciplinary action, I, Leo White, will take full responsibility. His voice was filled with conviction. A few students, caught up in the heat of the moment, actually started following him. Richie Ho, the temporary class president, was alarmed. He pulled Leo aside and whispered, Can't you just solve this by talking to a teacher? Are you sure you want to do this? You could get in real trouble. Leo glanced at Richie. He knew he meant well, but he was too naive. I know what I'm doing. And so, Leo led a procession of several dozen students to the dorm of the head of the residential life committee. The moment they entered, they were hit by the smell of instant noodles and junk food. What do you guys want? A chubby guy, his mouth greasy from the bag of spicy chips he was eating, was the first to react. Leo glanced at the bag. It was a brand they sold in room 718. Who's Joel Hill? Leo asked calmly. Hearing they were looking for Joel, the other occupants of the room breathed a sigh of relief. Only Joel looked completely bewildered. The dorm was too small to fit dozens of people. Only a few came inside. The rest crowded the doorway, with more onlookers gathering behind them. Joel had never seen anything like it. Leo pulled over a stool and sat down. He held up the confiscation form. You write this? Where are the things now? Seeing the form, Joel finally understood. He cursed silently, but put on a tough face. They were confiscated, of course. Selling goods is against school rules. What are you trying to do? Are you trying to start a fight? Leo remained calm. Was it your decision to confiscate them, or the school's? Before Joel could answer, Leo added, Because if you did it on your own authority, we don't recognize it. Joel swallowed hard. Of course it was the school's decision. Leo smiled. The guy actually had the guts to say it. He took out his phone, made sure the recorder was running, and continued. Who told you to go to room 718? Give me a name, and maybe if I'm in a good mood, I'll put in a good word for you. Joel looked at Leo like he was an idiot. Put in a good word? Is he crazy? But given the situation, he was afraid Leo might actually hit him. He decided to stall for time. With this much commotion, campus security would be there soon. Until then, he had to look unyielding. Your actions have seriously disrupted the normal functioning of the university. The student government can't just stand by and do nothing. Leo saw right through his little act. He made a scene precisely so the faculty would show up. So you're saying you decided on your own to go to room 718 and take our things? It was the school, Joel repeated, his voice growing louder and more confident, completely ignoring the crowd behind Leo. When a dozen security guards and a few faculty members arrived, Joel's arrogance inflated. Just then, Leo noticed a tall guy walk up to Joel and give him a subtle look. Joel got the message. He turned to the teachers. Professor, he brought a mob to our dorm to cause trouble. A student like this is a disgrace to our university. He could have caused real problems sooner or later. The tall guy who had come in with the teachers added, Ms. Zhao, organizing, planning, and inciting a disturbance that disrupts the normal order of the school. If the circumstances are serious, isn't that grounds for expulsion? Ms. Zhao, a stern woman with a military background, nodded and looked at Leo. What exactly happened here? Joel, feeling like he had backup, quickly interjected, he's just upset about being disciplined and decided to incite a riot. Most of the onlookers had scattered when the teachers and security arrived. The few who remained were just there for the show. Only the guys from 718 stood firmly by Leo's side. Shane was about to explain, but Leo stopped him. Ms. Zhao, may I ask them a few questions first? I'll explain everything to you afterward. Ms. Zhao thought for a moment and nodded. Leo smiled and turned to Joel and the tall guy. And you are? Jeff Shui, SGA president, he said calmly, looking at Leo with cold eyes. He had only wanted to cause Leo a little trouble, but this was an unexpected bonus. Expulsion would be ideal, but even probation would be enough to tarnish his reputation. He couldn't understand what Chloe saw in this guy. He wouldn't mind slowly shattering that image, making it so Leo could never hold his head up in front of her again. You're Leo White, right? Jeff asked, though he already knew the answer. And a member of our campus outreach committee, I never would have expected this. They really know how to pick them. Listening to his dismissive tone and seeing his arrogant posture, Leo just shook his head and sighed. It didn't matter where you went. There were always people like this. Give them an ounce of power, and they think they're kings. It had nothing to do with education, just character. Seeing the way Joel looked at Jeff for approval, and recalling the earlier warning he'd received, Leo immediately understood this was all aimed at him. The methods were just laughably childish. "Joel, I'll ask you one more time," Leo said, his voice deceptively calm. "Going to our dorm and taking our things, was it your idea or someone else's?" Joel was getting impatient. "I've told you a dozen times, it was the school." Ms. Zhao sensed something was wrong. Before she could speak, Leo cut in. "Ms. Zhao, does the university steal students' private property? Joel here just said he was following school orders when he went to our dorm and took a bunch of things. Coincidentally, I had $10,000 in cash in my dorm. Now it's missing. I just came to ask him what happened, and he says it was all the school's idea. I just want to know, where's my money? I have a recording of this entire conversation. I don't mind releasing it, or calling the police." Leo's calm delivery stunned the room. A wave of murmurs rippled through the crowd. $10,000. You got to be kidding. No way a student has that much cash. Many didn't believe it. A student leaving 10 grand in a dorm room was just too outrageous. Jeff's face was pale with rage. But Joel just spat back, 10,000? Leo, are you insane? You have 10 grand. Leo shrugged nonchalantly. Is 10,000 a lot? Of course, the issue right now isn't whether I have it. It's that I had it in my dorm, and now it's gone. The stern Ms. Zhao looked at Leo. So, you're saying they entered your room, took your things, and your $10,000 went missing? Leo nodded, then quickly shook his head. Not took, robbed. He didn't have our permission. He held up his phone, showing the active recording icon. Ms. Zhao, what do you think? Should I call the police, or let the school handle it? Ms. Zhao's expression hardened. If this got out, it would be a disaster for the university's reputation, something far beyond what she, as head of campus security, could handle. Young man, please wait a moment. I will consult with the administration. I promise we will give you a satisfactory resolution. Leo had never intended to tarnish the school's name. He just wanted to use this to teach some people a lesson. Don't bring your petty power games from the real world onto campus. You're not good enough to play them here. Fine. Leo pulled up a chair and sat down. Mark and the others were still in a daze. Only Shane had his wits about him. He leaned over to Leo and whispered, "Dude, did you really lose 10 grand? Leo just winked. Who knows? But if I say I did, even the cops will believe me. In their experience, I'm not the kind of person who would waste their time over something like this." Shane understood. He nodded. "So, this is what you were talking about before? How a rich person can wear a knockoff, and people will assume it's real. And even if they spot a flaw, they'll just think they're mistaken." Leo nodded. The kid's a fast learner. While Ms. Zhao was on the phone with her superiors, Leo decided to apply a little more pressure on Joel. "My bank records for the last 2 months show cash withdrawals of more than 10,000. It's easy to check. Right now, all I know is the money was there before you came in and gone after. You guys can figure out how you're going to explain that to the police." He stepped closer to Joel and whispered, his voice barely audible. "And what if the police just happen to find that $10,000 in your clothes or one of your bags? That's 3 to 10 years, man." Joel completely panicked. He swallowed hard. Then he pointed at Leo and screamed, "You can't do that." Leo just shrugged. "If you're going to make an enemy of someone, you'd better be prepared for the consequences." Joel forgot all about his pride. He was terrified. He broke down and started crying. Jeff had no idea what Leo had just said. He tried to pull Joel up, but Joel just pointed a trembling finger at him and sobbed to Leo, "It was him. He made me do it. Go after him. Please, just leave me alone." "What are you talking about?" Jeff shouted, trying to stop Joel from pinning the blame on him. He didn't know what Leo had whispered, but he knew this had gone terribly wrong. Joel didn't care. He just kept pointing. "It was him. He told me to go after you." Leo ignored their squabbling, watching coldly as he waited for the faculty to return. This whole scene was just a means to an end. He needed a meeting with the university administration about something else, and was just looking for an opening. Now, one had been delivered right to his door. He didn't have to wait long. A few teachers and a man who looked like a senior administrator walked in. Leo recognized 2 of them, Dean Zhao from the Student Affairs Office and his own class advisor, Mr. Liu. Leo stood up and greeted them. "Mr. Liu, Dean Zhao." Mr. Liu nodded first. "What's going on here?" Leo shrugged. "Just lost some stuff, and some money." The head of security had already briefed them on the way over. The administrator spoke, his voice heavy, clearly intending to intimidate Leo. What did you lose? And how much money? If it had been a normal student, it might have worked, but he was dealing with Leo. A few boxes of snacks and drinks. And $10,000, Leo said, pointing at the teary-eyed Joel. He said he was acting on the university's orders when he took them from our room. Joel had lost all of his earlier arrogance. Joel, is that what happened? Dean Zhao, as the direct faculty advisor for the SGA, knew all the students involved. I only took the snacks. I don't know anything about the money. Joel's voice trembled, and it was Jeff who told me to do it. He was truly terrified of Leo's threat. If the police really did find the money among his things, he'd be done for. Jeff's face was ashen. He glared at Joel, but said nothing. Leo turned to the administrators. You know what? I think I'll just call the police. He pulled out his phone. Leo, wait, Dean Zhao said, stopping him. If the police got involved, regardless of the outcome, it would be a black mark on the university. And since the students involved were all SGA members, she would be held responsible. Her tone softened. Joel, are you sure you didn't see Leo's money? Joel shook his head, so hard it looked like it might fall off. I swear, I didn't. I only had people take their snacks, ramen, and drinks. They're all right here. He pointed to a few boxes in the corner. Mark and the others had already noticed them. They went over and lifted the boxes. They were empty. Where's our stuff? Joel stammered. Dean Zhao and the other teachers frowned. They couldn't understand how a simple student dispute had escalated into this. If Leo insisted he'd left $10,000 in those boxes, there was nothing they could do. Leo, can we talk? Dean Zhao asked. Seeing Joel's state, she realized he wasn't lying. Leo must have made it up. It was understandable. He was young, proud, and rich. He wouldn't tolerate being wronged. But this was about the university's reputation. It was best to resolve it quietly. This was the moment Leo had been waiting for. Of course. Why don't we go to your office? It's a bit crowded here. Seeing Leo relent, the administrators, including the one with the receding hairline, all breathed a sigh of relief. Being able to negotiate was the best possible outcome. The group headed toward the administration building. Shane sidled up to Leo and whispered, Dude, is this going to be okay? I'm a victim here. What problem could I possibly have? Leo said, glancing over at Joel, who had stopped crying but was still pale with fear. Jeff didn't follow them, claiming he had nothing to do with it. When Joel heard that, he looked like he was about to lunge at him, but the crowd held him back. In the conference room, Dean Zhao's plan was to have the two sides talk it out and clear up the misunderstanding. But Leo spoke first. Dean, $10,000 isn't a lot of money to me. I can let it go, but if we just drop it, won't it send a message that it's easy to steal money at our university? His words completely shut down the administrator's planned speech. The man, Vice President Zhang, spoke directly. Then how do you want to resolve this? Leo spread his hands. Simple. The SGA president is incompetent and unethical. He's not fit for the position. Let Angie have it. As for Joel, hearing his name, Joel's heart leaped into his throat. He braced himself for what was coming. He can replace the snacks he took. After that, he can go about his business. Joel thought he'd misheard. He stared at Leo, dumbfounded, until Leo shot him a glare. Any problem with that? No problem at all. Joel didn't believe in gods, but right now, Leo looked like a living Buddha. Leo's conditions were simple. Dean Zhao could have agreed to them without even consulting the vice president. Done. So we're finished here? Vice President Zhang asked. Leo shook his head. He gave the vice president a meaningful look, then steepled his fingers on the table, rested his chin on them, and said nothing. The vice president understood. The rest of you can leave. Dean Zhao and Mr. Liu gave Leo one last long look before heading out. Once everyone was gone, it was just Leo and the vice president. What should I call you, sir? Leo asked. Zhang Quan. Leo had heard the others call him vice president. He'd seen the actual president before, so this must be his deputy. Vice President Zhang, a pleasure. Zhang was dealing with a major headache and had no time for pleasantries. Just say it. What will it take to make this go away? Leo had caused such a scene that it was now impossible to suppress. The only way out was for Leo himself to clear the air. This was exactly what Leo wanted. He looked at Vice President Zhang. Sir, the money is a small matter, and I believe it was all just a misunderstanding. Why should the school take the blame for what a few students did? Zhang was taken aback by Leo's sudden shift to a reasonable, accommodating tone, but he said nothing, just motioned for him to continue. Leo smiled. As a student of this university, I'm always thinking of the school's best interests. You see, it's a 10-minute walk from the dorms to the academic buildings. It's very inconvenient. I was thinking, what if we placed bicycles around campus at fixed stations? Students could use a card to borrow them whenever they need one. Vice President Zhang paused, considering Leo's proposal for a moment before nodding. This is a good thing. Yes, I think this could work. But aren't you worried about theft once the bikes are taken off campus? Leo just smiled. Riding is free, but students will need to pay a $50 deposit for a semester pass. I'll have staff check-in points at designated locations around campus, and I'll build a simple checkout system that registers which student has which bike. The record is cleared when the bike is returned. The parking spots will be universal, he continued. A bike checked out from a dorm can be returned at any other station on campus. If a bike is lost on someone's watch, their deposit covers the cost. As an economics professor, VP Zhang's eyes narrowed with professional skepticism. You're not just trying to make money off forfeited deposits, are you? Because I want to prove that. If this thing goes belly up and you can't refund the deposits, the university's reputation will be on the line. Leo nodded internally. The pro knows what to look for. But this time, Zhang was overthinking it. Leo had no intention of profiting from the deposits. Of course not, Leo said smoothly. If that's a concern, all deposit money can be held in a university-supervised account. Funds would only be paid out to cover a lost bike. Zhang item. Then what's in it for you? To build a better campus for everyone. The vice president rolled his eyes. He hadn't known Leo for long, but it was long enough to see he was a young man of means and ambition. The idea that he was doing this out of pure altruism was laughable. But if Leo wasn't going to tell him the real angle, he couldn't force it out of him. What do you need from us? It's simple, Leo said. I plan to set up 5 stations on campus. 2 central to the dorms, 2 near the classroom buildings, and 1 at the library. I'll pick the exact spots. All I need from you is to help me get the word out to students looking for work-study opportunities. They can come work for me. For the 5 stations, I'll need 2 people per station on a 3-shift rotation from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m., so it won't interfere with their classes. It should create a good number of campus jobs. Zhang nodded. The plan was sound. It solved the campus transit problem and provided jobs for students who needed them. Leo pressed on. And if our pilot program is successful here, could you help promote it at other universities, Mr. Vice President? You have my word. The service will be free, deposits will be fully refundable at any time, and the account will be open to university oversight. While Zhang couldn't fathom Leo's endgame, the proposal was undeniably beneficial for the university. He agreed without a second thought. I could do that. Leo let out a quiet sigh of relief. The rest would be easy. He'd only told Zhang about the on-campus stations. He hadn't mentioned his plan to set up a single, solitary station off campus. Any student who rode a bike off school grounds would have only one place to park it. And if that one place happened to be surrounded by food, shops, and entertainment, it would quickly become the go-to commercial hub. Leo's plan wasn't about bikes. It was about creating a river of foot traffic and directing its flow. He was going to build his own university strip. The initial investment would be significant, but he'd do it under the Rush sportswear banner. He could write it off as a marketing expense. Besides, it was a perfect opportunity to test a primitive version of the sharing economy model that would dominate the future. It was a win on multiple fronts. Now all he had to do was find the perfect location, not too far from the cluster of local universities, easily accessible by bike. After saying goodbye to Zhang, Leo left the conference room alone. The guys from room 718 were waiting for him by the door. To his surprise, Joel Hill was there too. Leo. Joel stepped forward first, his lip trembling. I'm sorry, Leo. I was wrong. Mark gave me a list of the damages. I'll pay you back tomorrow. From Joel's clothes and the way he carried himself, Leo could tell he didn't come for money. The bill would hurt him. But Leo didn't refuse. You make a mistake, you face the consequences. Okay, he said simply. Joel let out a breath, visibly relieved that Leo had accepted. Leo, if you ever need anything at all, just say the word. Leo didn't wave him off. This was part of the plan. The Residential Life Committee. It would be a shame not to use that access for a little promotion. Not flyers or posters. Leo was above that. But when Joel and his crew did their dorm inspections, what was to stop them from casually mentioning that anyone who wanted to order from the 718 Express just had a call? And while they were at it, they could check for flyers from competitors on dorm room doors and have them promptly removed. Monopoly was the name of the game. I might have something for you, Leo said. Not right now, but I'll let you know. And hey, if you're looking to make some extra cash on the side, give me a call. Here's my number. After Joel left, Shane and Chad finally closed in. Leo, man, the VP didn't give you too much trouble, did he? Leo glanced at the genuine concern in their eyes. Nah, we're all good. From now on, nobody's going to bother us about selling stuff from a dorm. By the way, any progress on recruiting reps in the other dorms to handle deliveries? From the start, Leo's plan for the 718 Minimart was to create a network of micro-warehouses, one in each dorm. They would stock inventory, and whenever an order came in from their building for snacks or drinks, the local rep could make the delivery in minutes. Cash on delivery. It was a model that could be easily copied, so they had to move fast. Shane nodded. I got a ton of replies after I posted on the forum. I was going to meet with them before we got back to campus, but then all this happened. Leo pulled a pack of Marlboros from his pocket, offered one to Shane, and took one for himself. He brought the lighter up to his lips, then paused. Smoking on the main campus walkway wasn't a good look. Later, in the dorm, he thought. He lowered the unlit cigarette. If he wasn't going to smoke, why should Shane? He reached over and plucked the cigarette from Shane's mouth. Shane stared at him, bewildered. Smoking is bad for your health, Leo said deadpan. Shane's eyes blinked. A moment later, the realization dawned, and he spat out a single word. Asshole. But he didn't light up. He took the cigarette back and tucked it behind his ear. Mark and Chad, neither of them big smokers, just watched. After a few steps, Shane slowed down, then asked tentatively, so, what about Jeff Schwe? We're just letting that go. Everyone knew Jeff was the one who had orchestrated the raid, and the snake had managed to slither away without a scratch. Leo just smiled. The first day back after the break meant a mandatory departmental meeting. Their dorm was on the 7th floor, a climb Leo had no interest in making twice, so he and the guys headed straight for the classroom building. Just as they arrived, he saw Chloe Jiang standing by the door, a perfect picture of anxious beauty. The moment she spotted him, she rushed over. Are you okay? The story had exploded on the university's online forum, with a dozen different versions flying around. She heard them all. They had talked on the phone, but she needed to see him for herself. Shane and the guys knowingly slipped in the classroom, though their eyes kept darting back for a peek. Leo smiled at Chloe, gently tapping the bridge of her nose. I'm fine. Your department meeting is an hour before mine, right? The university staggered the meetings to manage classroom space. Leo's was in the earlier block. Chloe nodded. Well, since you're here, why don't you join me? Okay, she chirped, a bright smile lighting up her face. She immediately took his arm, and they walked into the classroom together. Leo found a spot in the last row, taking the aisle seat and letting her slide in. Shane and the others, who had been sitting in the row ahead, saw them and immediately relocated with practiced subtlety. You have to come to my meeting with me after this, okay? Chloe asked, her eyes full of expectation. A fair trade. Please, she added, tugging on the corner of his sleeve when he didn't answer right away. Leo considered it. It was either that or wander around with Shane and his crew. Spending an hour looking at the students in Chloe's department sounded a lot more interesting than staring at the same faces from his own. Sure, he agreed. That made her even happier. As more students filed in, their eyes would land on Leo and Chloe in the back row, and they'd do a double take. The entire row in front of them remained conspicuously empty, making the two of them stick out even more. Leo enjoyed the privacy. Hollywood arrived late, and as she passed, Leo watched her for a moment longer than necessary. He couldn't help but sigh. Such a great girl. Too bad about her father. Chloe noticed his gaze, and her own eyes narrowed. Is she pretty? She asked, a sour note in her voice. I know I'm supposed to say no, Leo said, but lying just feels wrong. Chloe's lips formed a pout. Just then, Leo reached under the desk and took her hand, giving it a gentle squeeze. You can use a word like pretty to describe her, he said, his voice soft. But you're the reason they invented the word. You define it. The really, really pretty version. A jolt went through Chloe. Forgetting they were in a crowded classroom, she threw her arms around his neck. You jerk. You're going to make me cry. Whoa. Oh. They were already the center of attention, and her outburst sent a ripple of murmurs through the room. Chloe, realizing what she'd done, pulled back, her face flushing crimson as she tried to regain her composure. Leo was unbothered. Let them be jealous. Quiet down. Richie Ho, the acting class president, yelled from the front. The room grew noisy, and since there was actually a girl named Anna Jing, whose name sounded like the word for quiet, he had to shout it twice for emphasis. The meeting was a bore, just a glorified roll call. The rest of the time was a free-for-all of chatter and snacking. Today, there was a new form of entertainment, watching Leo and Chloe. No one knew what they were talking about, but Chloe would shift between shy smiles and playful pouts, occasionally swatting Leo's arm with a laugh. When the meeting ended, Shane walked over, looking like he was interrupting something sacred. Leo, I set up a meeting with the guys who want to be our dorm reps. You want to come? Leo shook his head. No, I'm good. You can handle a little thing like that. He waved him away, eager to get back to his conversation with Chloe. My meeting starts in 10 minutes, Chloe said after Shane had left, the message clear. Time to go. He had made a promise. Leo stood up and held out his hand to her. Let's go. MHM. Her classroom was a short, 5-minute walk away. The moment they stepped inside, the air seemed to go still. Every eye in the room turned to them. Come on, Chloe said, seeing him hesitate. She grabbed his hand and pulled him toward her roommates. Stacy, Yara, June, let's all get dinner after this. And bring your plus ones. Chloe was slowly but surely breaking the ice with her sweet mates, the previous distance between them melting away. Bringing Leo with her was a deliberate move, a way to introduce him to her inner circle, a way to make things official in front of her friends. Leo saw through her little scheme, but didn't say a word. Dinner was dinner. Sounds good, the girls agreed. Stacy turned to Leo. You know, you're kind of celebrity on campus now, Leo. Seeing his confusion, she elaborated. Someone took a picture of you and Chloe holding hands and posted it on the university forum. Everyone was trying to figure out who won Chloe's heart, wondering if he was another super rich kid like her. Your name got out pretty fast. A lot of guys see you as public enemy number one. Leo shrugged helplessly and sighed. I don't really use the forums. Maybe you could clear things up for me? Just tell them. He paused dramatically. Tell them what? Stacy asked, a hint of disdain in her voice. Chloe's not even denying it, and this guy's already trying to back out. But Leo's tone shifted. Just tell them I'm not a trust fund kid. I'm a self-made man. Stacy was speechless. Chloe couldn't hold it in and let out a small laugh. What are you laughing at? Am I wrong? Leo asked. Chloe's eyes were practically sparkling, filled with something close to adoration. You're right, she said. Then she looked at her roommates. Leo really is incredible. Stacy and the others gave Leo a long, assessing look before turning away. To be curious about a person was the first step toward falling for them. They couldn't afford to be curious. They might have a chance with someone else, but Leo was off limits. Chloe herself had said she couldn't be his one and only. That was terrifying. So, Stacy, what are you in the mood for tonight? Chloe asked her roommates a little while later. Stacy mused. The university strip is all torn up for construction, so that's out. How about that Sichuan place just off campus? Sounds good. Hearing them mention the strip, Leo asked, do you guys go there a lot? Stacy wasn't sure why he was asking, but she answered anyway. Yeah, all the time. They have a ton of different food stalls, the food's great, and most importantly, it's cheap. Leo nodded, thinking, hey, can you do me a favor? The roommates exchanged a look. What's up? Chloe looked at him curiously too. Could you help me run a survey on the forum? About the university strip, Leo said directly. I'll write up the questions and send them to you. Leo spent most of his time online playing games. He didn't know the first thing about the campus forums. Of course, I'll make it worth your while. Chloe's eyes widened. Are you thinking of getting into the food business? Leo shook his head. No, it's just a shame that the construction shut down all those great food stalls. I was thinking of finding a new place to bring them all together. You know, for the good of the people. Stacy and her friends immediately understood this was a business conversation that was way above their pay grade. Sure, we can do that, Stacy said. Just have Chloe send me the details. Perfect. Leo already had the survey questions forming in his mind, focusing on dining habits and how far students were willing to travel. Once he had that data, the rest would be simple. Leo was much more reserved in Chloe's class than in his own, and he sat quietly until the meeting was over. After agreeing on a time and place to meet for dinner, he and Chloe left first. Stacy and June said they were waiting for their boyfriends. Yara, claiming she didn't want to be a third wheel, excused herself to go to the bathroom and never came back. On the way, Leo asked Chloe, did you call your dad after you got to campus? I did, but he didn't pick up. I was going to try again when I got back to the dorm. Why wait? Leo said, taking the phone from her hand. It was the same model as his, a Nokia he knew well. He typed in 4 twos, and Ethan Jiang appeared on the screen. Leo hit dial and turned on the speakerphone. Chloe was curious why he was suddenly so invested, but she didn't say anything, just waited for the call to connect. After 3 rings, her father's voice came through. Chloe, I was in a meeting. I was just about to call you back. You made it to school okay. After he finished, Leo shot Chloe a look, signaling it was her turn. She rolled her eyes. I'm here. Dad, don't work too hard. You need to take care of yourself. I know. Have you been with Leo these past couple of days? He hasn't been giving you any trouble, has he? Hearing that, Leo didn't dare make a sound. Chloe, however, tightened her grip on his hand and raised her voice. He's asking you a question. Have you been giving me trouble? Ethan realized Leo was right there. He cleared his throat to dispel the awkwardness and went silent. Feeling Chloe's grip tighten even more, Leo had no choice but to speak up. Mr. Jian, don't worry. I'll take good care of Chloe. Only then did she release his hand. Ethan chuckled, a sound Leo couldn't quite interpret. He pressed on. By the way, Mr. Jiang, do you happen to have a recommendation for a reliable construction company in the Seattle area? I need one that can build a small retail center, including basic interior work, in about 6 weeks. This was the real reason for the call. This was Ethan Jiang's world. Leo could find a contractor on his own, but the timeline was so aggressive that most companies wouldn't even consider it. After a few more moments of pleasantries, Ethan hung up. A second later, a text with a phone number came through. A new project, Leo? Chloe asked, practically bouncing with excitement. Can I join? I want to help. She loved the idea of building something with him, of experiencing that feeling of creating something from nothing. But Leo just held up his hands. It's a construction site. Can you lay bricks? Can you plaster a wall? Chloe froze. Now that he mentioned it, she couldn't do either of those things. Seeing her dumbfounded expression, Leo couldn't hold back a laugh. She realized she'd been had. You're a liar, she exclaimed, and with a running start, she leaped onto his back. Thankfully, at around 100 pounds, she wasn't too heavy. Not far away, Sue was walking back from dinner with her roommate when she saw them. Is that Leo? Her roommate whispered. They had met before. It was dark, and the campus lamplight was dim, making it hard to be sure. As she spoke, she glanced at Sophia's face, but her expression was unreadable. No, Sophia said flatly. She turned, pulling her roommate with her. She bent down and picked up a fallen ginkgo leaf from the ground. As they walked, she tore it into tiny pieces, muttering under her breath. Jerk, you never carried me. She kept telling herself she was happy just to see him happy, that she could watch his happiness from afar. But seeing this, a sour ache bloomed in her chest. The more she thought about it, the worse it got. Finally, she couldn't take it anymore. She pulled out her phone and sent Leo a text. I saved up to $5.20. Come find me tomorrow. Her roommate watched her silently, not daring to say another word. Meanwhile, Leo was trying to get Chloe to climb down, but she refused. Worried she would fall, he walked carefully. When his phone buzzed with a text, he managed to free one hand to pull it out and read the message. His other hand immediately dropped from supporting Chloe. Without his support, she was left dangling uncomfortably and finally slid off his back, pouting at him. Leo looked around, searching for Sophia, but he couldn't see her. He typed out a reply. At your service, moneybags. After sending the text, he looked at Chloe and sighed. Was being the main character in a romance novel always this exhausting? Chloe had no idea what had just happened. Seeing his expression, she started to worry. Did I make him mad? Her voice softened. Leo, I won't do it again. He knew she had misunderstood. He put an arm around her shoulder. Next time, he said. Next time, just make sure you don't gain any weight. Chloe pecked him on the cheek. If you're willing to carry me, I'll even lose weight for you. Leo looked her up and down, his gaze making her feel self-conscious. Let's not go that far, he said. You lose any more, and I'll really have to start calling you Brother Jiang. With that, Leo shoved his hands in his pockets and started walking, leaving Chloe standing there, momentarily stunned. She glanced down at herself, her face turning red as she mumbled, They're not that small. You coming or not? Leo called back over his shoulder. She jogged to catch up, seeing that he had no intention of taking his hands out of his pockets. She simply slid her own hand into his pocket, her fingers lacing with his. His hand was warm, a comfortable anchor. The path was full of couples, so they didn't look out of place. Because they had dawdled, everyone else was already at the restaurant when they arrived, except for June and her boyfriend. Stacy was sitting with hers, and Yara was by herself, head down, quietly playing Snake on her phone. Chloe, Leo, come see what you want to eat, Stacy said, passing them the menu as they approached. Leo took it and saw it was still blank. He glanced at the others. Stacy and Yara seemed fine, but the guy next to Stacy looked prim and proper, almost timid. He wasn't sure if the guy was shy or just uncomfortable. Hey man, you drink? Leo asked him while scanning the menu. Stacy's boyfriend thought for a second and nodded. Maybe some beer. The second the words were out of his mouth, Leo saw Stacy subtly nudge him onto the table. The guy immediately corrected himself. Actually, never mind. Leo smiled, not pushing it. He ordered a couple of dishes he knew Chloe liked, then passed the menu back for the others to add on. Probably not wanting Leo to spend too much, they didn't order much more. While they waited for June, Stacy made an introduction. Leo, this nerd is Justin Zhang. He's the admin for the university's online forum. If you're serious about that online survey, you could talk to him. Chloe chimed in. Justin's a senior, and he and Stacy are childhood sweethearts. Stacy rolled her eyes. Childhood sweethearts? More like a lifelong rivalry. Justin just gave an awkward laugh. not saying a word. He was clearly the shy one in the relationship, the complete opposite of Stacy. Justin, man, I've heard a lot about you. Good to meet you, Leo said politely. Justin seemed almost starstruck, waving his hands dismissively. No, I've heard about you. Your name has been showing up on the forum more than anyone else's lately. Now Leo was curious. Oh yeah? What are they saying about me? Stacy cut in. Why are we talking about this? Let's change the subject. That only made Leo more intrigued. Chloe, meanwhile, was trying her best to suppress a grin. You've read the posts, haven't you? Leo asked her. Chloe shook her head frantically, but her expression screamed. Oh yeah, I've read a lot of them. Getting nowhere, Leo dropped it and turned back to Justin. Justin, can I get your IM screen name and phone number? We can connect later. Sure. They chatted for a bit before June finally arrived, the tear tracks on her cheeks still visible. Everyone could see she had been crying. June, sit here. I already poured you some tea, Yara said, not asking what was wrong, but simply making space for her to sit next to her. It was a small, kind gesture that made Leo look at Yara with new appreciation. At 18, in the prime of youth, no one was truly ugly. Yara was the kind of girl who grew more attractive the more you looked at her. June sat down without a word, her head bowed and her lip quivering. The cheerful atmosphere in the room instantly evaporated. June, do you see anything else you want to eat? Chloe asked, breaking the silence as she passed her the menu. June just shook her head. You guys can just order. Her voice was choked with emotion. Who knew how long she had been crying outside before composing herself enough to come in? Everyone tactfully avoided asking what happened. They were all adults. They understood. Stacy tried to comfort her. You know, June, I could really go for a drink right now. What do you say we have a few? Then we could go back to the dorm and get a good night's sleep. June looked tempted, but she was used to being the well-behaved one and hesitated. Chloe added, I want one too. Come on, June, let's drink together. That was all the encouragement she needed. June nodded. Okay, thank you. Thank you all. Don't be silly. Watching the girls, Leo and Justin exchanged a look of resigned helplessness. The beer here isn't that great, Leo announced. I'll go grab some Mike's Hard Lemonade. The fruity coolers were low in alcohol and tasted more like soda, perfect for a girl feeling down. Leo and Justin left together, planning to have a smoke on the way. Justin, Leo began as they walked. Stacy said you're a software engineering major. Justin nodded. Yeah, why? I'm looking for someone to build a piece of software, basically a shared database. Think you could do it? Send me the specs and a list of functions. I can take a look. Okay, I'll send it over. They bought the drinks from a nearby convenience store. On the way back, Justin asked curiously, so what was the final verdict on what happened this afternoon? Did you really get that $10,000 back? The incident had been the talk of the forum, and as the admin, he was paying close attention. Leo shrugged. It was a misunderstanding. The money was found. The head of the Residential Life Committee is keeping his job, but that P5.She guy, he probably won't be the SGA president for much longer. By the way, Leo added casually, is there any gossip about him on the forum? Justin shook his head. Nope. They vetted him pretty thoroughly during the SGA election. His record is clean. That's how he won. That's a shame, Leo sighed. Just as he said it, Justin added in a low voice, there's nothing now. That doesn't mean there won't be in the future. Leo gave him a long, hard look. Justin's first impression was that of an honest, unassuming guy. But the more you looked, the more you realized. This dude was crafty as hell. Sensing the shift in Leo's expression, Justin just grinned. Leo grinned back. You're right. Who knows? Maybe one day some girl will post on the forum, complaining that of all the guys she slept with, P5.She was the worst. A 3-second man. Justin choked out a laugh. Dude, that's brutal. How's he supposed to show his face after that? How's he ever going to get a girlfriend? Leo was unfazed. When dealing with despicable people, you had to use unconventional methods. He didn't want to get the guy expelled, just humiliate him enough to teach him a lesson. It was up to Jeff to decide if he'd learn from it. But the exchange confirmed Leo's suspicion. Justin was an interesting guy, the kind who kept a mischievous streak hidden beneath a quiet exterior. They returned to the restaurant, still chatting. The food had arrived, but Chloe and the girls hadn't started eating, apparently waiting for them. Leo, you want one? Chloe asked, passing the coolers to her roommates. Leo shook his head. Too sweet. I can't stand them. Justin, how about you and I stick to beer? Justin had been wanting one earlier, but had held back because of Stacy. Hearing Leo's offer, his face lit up in a sly grin, and he rubbed his hands together. Beer it is. This time, Stacy didn't stop him. The girls drank their coolers, talking about things Leo couldn't understand. He and Justin drank their beer. After a few bottles, Justin's tongue loosened. Leo, be honest with me. You're the guy behind Rush Sportswear, aren't you? Leo shot him a strange look. Justin slapped his forehead. Damn, I knew it. It is you. How did you figure that out? Leo asked, genuinely curious. Chloe is the daughter of the Jiang Corporation CEO. A lot of people know that, Justin explained. So for you to win her over, you couldn't be just some random guy. People on the forum were gossiping like crazy. Some said you were a super rich trust fund kid. Others said you were from some powerful political family. None of it sounded right to me, so I did some digging online. I found out Rush was founded right here in Riverbend by someone named Leo White. I couldn't believe it at first, which is why I had to ask. Leo's alcohol tolerance was a bit better than Justin's, who was now 2 sheets to the wind and rambling nonstop. After letting him go on for a bit, Leo asked, "Does anyone else know about this?" Justin shook his head vigorously. No. At least, I haven't seen anything about it on the forum. Dude, why are you so low-key? Are you trying to pull a Bruce Wayne? If I were you, I'd have broadcasted that to the world. If everyone knew, do you think I'd have any peace and quiet? Leo countered. And what for? To attract more girls? To brag? Do I look that shallow to you? Justin sighed in admiration. A boss is a boss. I get it. When you've already got Chloe Jiang, who else is even going to catch your eye? With that, he slumped forward, his head hitting the table. He was out cold, but even in his drunken stupor, he mumbled, "Don't worry. I won't tell anyone." Chloe's cheeks were flushed, and at some point, she had leaned her head against Leo's shoulder. She brought her lips close to his ear, her warm breath tickling his skin. "Humph. You say you're not shallow, but your hand seems pretty comfortable on my leg." "Tell my hand. Don't tell me," Leo whispered back. "It got there on its own merit. Why should it have to leave?" "Humph. Pervert," she murmured, nestling closer. While they were whispering, Stacy and the others had finished their own conversation. June was in much better spirits. At least her voice no longer cracked when she spoke. "Hey, Leo," Stacy said, "didn't you say 2 of your roommates were still single? Maybe we should all go out sometime. Dinner, karaoke?" Leo agreed instantly. "Sounds good, but you got one thing wrong." His response made not only Stacy, but also Chloe look at him with curiosity. "There aren't 2 single guys," he said. "Counting me, there are 3. Before Stacy and her friends could react, they saw Chloe pinching Leo's cheek, a look of pure, helpless exasperation on her face. Unable to watch their shameless flirting any longer, Stacy turned away. "Okay, let's go. She stood up, intending to pay the bill. Stacy's family wasn't wealthy, but she could afford to treat her friends. When she got to the counter, however, the cashier told her the bill had already been paid. She didn't press the issue. She carefully helped the staggering Justin to his feet and said to Yara and June, "I'm going to get him back to his dorm. You guys head back." With everyone gone, Leo and Chloe couldn't linger. Outside the restaurant, a cool breeze hit them. Leo shivered, the alcohol's haze clearing slightly. Chloe seemed a little down, her words becoming few and far between. "What's wrong?" Leo asked gently. At his question, Chloe stopped walking and looked at him, her expression wounded. "Leo." The look in his eyes made the words she was about to say die in her throat. She sighed. It's nothing. This is good. This is fine." Maybe it was the alcohol, but she was extra sensitive. Just from those few words, her eyes turned red. Leo sensed the shift and knew this was not the time to talk. Anything he said would be wrong and could trigger a complete emotional collapse. Tomorrow, he thought. I'll deal with it tomorrow. He walked her silently to her dorm. After waving goodbye, he watched her go upstairs. The sky was cold and clear, a sliver of a crescent moon hanging overhead. All around them, other couples were saying their tearful goodbyes, acting as if a few hours apart were a life-or-death separation. Normally, Leo would have left the second Chloe was inside. This time, he lingered a little longer. It wasn't until the urge for a cigarette became overwhelming that he started to wander off. But he didn't go back to room 718. Without realizing it, he had walked all the way over to the University of Oregon campus. It was almost 10 o'clock, and the sprawling grounds were nearly empty, save for the brightly lit library. He hadn't called Sophia. He just sat on a bench by the lake, quietly smoking. "Leo, are you having a meltdown or something?" Lost in thought, the sudden voice made him jump. "Who the hell are you?" he snapped. Then, in the dim light, he saw it was Holly One. "What are you doing here?" Holly sat down on the bench next to him, leaving a polite distance between them. "I was dropping something off for Sophia. On my way back, I saw you wandering this way looking like a lost soul. I was worried you might do something stupid, so I followed you. A guy from our university can't be jumping into U of O's lake. It would be a diplomatic incident." Leo coughed. "Uh-huh. You're hilarious. And I wasn't a lost soul. I was thinking. Besides, do I look like the kind of guy who can't handle his problems?" "Oh," Holly said, her eyes narrowing. "Did you figure out?" "I hadn't," Leo said, standing up from the bench. "But I have now." He left without another word to Holly, walking away with renewed purpose. Being stuck together constantly could make anyone feel suffocated. Sometimes, you needed a little distance to keep the freshness alive. What was that saying? Absence makes the heart grow fonder? He'd been spending too much time with Chloe. The slightest hiccup was making him second-guess everything, making him feel insecure. That wasn't a good sign.